PIEGUYRULZ here, and Avengers Endgame Discussion is going to be happening in the middle of this podcast, so if you haven't seen the movie and you want to avoid spoilers still, even though the Russo brothers lifted that spoiler ban, we are going to be talking about it in the middle of this episode. We do have a news segment first. If you want to hear us talk about Sonic, please feel free to stick around for that. But just a fair warning that we will give you a big heads up in the middle of this when the Endgame spoilers will begin. And they will continue throughout the rest of the episode into the individual episode discussions we've got. But anyway, I am here, as always, with Gamora Reviews.
Thanos is my daddy.
There's a lot of green Avengers characters that we could have picked.
Yeah.
Like, we could have called you the Hulk. You know, you're kind of big.
Right.
But we went with Gamora. You're a Gamora.
Yes, and yeah, Thanos is my daddy.
I am also joined by, who's the edgiest character? Oh, yeah, Hawkeye. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm joined by Shadow Streak.
It's me. Hi. How's it going?
Hawkeye or Bucky? Maybe Bucky. It might be Bucky.
I think Bucky's pretty edgy if you consider his backstory. I mean, he was an anti-hero, kind of, he did a lot of killing. I mean,
Bucky is the Shadow the Hedgehog.
That's,
Captain America's Sonic.
That's basically how I see it.
Okay. All right. I don't want to know who Big the Cat is. Anyway, this is the recast. This episode is going up on a Wednesday because we had a technical issue, and that technical issue is that when we recorded this, my power went out. So we recorded half this episode. We didn't get to the actual episode discussions, but we got a good way into talking about Avengers, and then someone snapped their fingers and bad things happened. Unfortunately, my recording wasn't able to finish codexing or whatever you call it. So we lost that one, so we had to re-record.
It was Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Electro. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was Electro. Or Static Shock, maybe.
How dare you? He would save the podcast. But yeah, so in a little bit of working out fine sort of thing, the podcast is actually going to start coming out on Wednesdays from now on. So no longer are we releasing on Sunday, we're releasing on Wednesday for a few reasons, because partially a lot of news come out on the weekends, and we would always record before the weekend so Monsters would have enough time to edit to get it out on Sunday, which means we'd miss out on a lot of that news that would happen really right then and there. But also, I'm taking over editing the podcast, and I want to have the whole weekend to edit instead of some of it. So executive decision, podcast, recast Wednesdays.
Recast Wednesdays, woo!
If you want to, wait 4 days, you can still watch it, listen to it on Sunday.
It's like Har Har Thursdays, but the recast and on Wednesdays.
Hey.
How dare you?
I got that.
With that, let's get into the episode.
Sonic.
He's got an attitude.
Oh, yeah! This is happening. Oh boy, the Sonic trailer. How about that?
We're 2 weeks late on this news
right.
now.
Yeah. Guys, we have the most fresh opinions in the world and most unique opinions, and that's that this trailer sucks.
Yeah.
I know about this because my Twitter feed the day that happened, it was just literally nothing but Sonic. I don't care about Sonic personally that much. I don't hate him, but I'm baffled by the love that a lot of people have for him. Thanks in part to people like Nintendo and Leia and other such guests on our podcast / friends of mine. They like and retweet and post them, and Shadow. They like, retweet, and post things. So my Twitter feed was just nothing but the Sonic looks bad. Jim Carrey's gonna be cool, but everything else about Sonic sucks. And just endless flood of people redesigning Sonic to look 8 million times better in the span of an hour after the trailer.
Yeah, that was a fun time. Oh man. But yeah, no, I honestly think this trailer is a train wreck. It's a complete and utter train wreck.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are optimistic for Jim Carrey. I don't think Jim Carrey is going to save this movie. I still think considering everything else, this is not going to be a very good film.
No.
I mean, it's just notable because Jim Carrey hasn't been wacky zany Jim Carrey since the 90s or the early 2000s.
Right.
It's been a long time. Probably The Grinch was like the last time we got insane Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely think that'll be a treat, but I don't think it'll save the whole movie because there's a lot of not Sonic going on here. I mean, like, where do we
what
even
are you
begin?
talking about?
Where do we begin?
I know where we're gonna end.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, I mean the first the movie storyline is that Sonic comes to the real world and he's got a human sidekick and
Whoa!
Smurfs.
That's
Smurfs.
never been done before.
What? The
Yeah.
military is involved? Gangsta's Paradise?
Oh my gosh.
If you're adapting something, why would you strip everything away except for the main character? Like, the only other thing, aside from Sonic himself, is that rings are involved. Although, it's an interpretation, now they're portals, which fine. I don't mind that, but it's just kind of where's actual Green Hill Zone? Haha, it's on a billboard. That's a good joke, but, where is it?
Well, at least based on the trailer. I mean, I can't speak for the whole movie, but based on the trailer, it feels like they didn't even try because, yeah, the first shot of the trailer is establishing that it's Green Hill Zone, but it's just a generic forest area. There's no checkerboard hills. There's no, waterfalls in the background. There's no badniks. It's just a dude sitting in a cop car. Yeah, that's exciting.
Here's a crazy idea. And I know very little about Sonic. I enjoy people's 3 hours dissertations on Sonic. Subscribe to Exo Paradigm Gamer and the Geek Critique. I love those guys. But I know very little about Sonic, but even I could tell you, why not just ape the first level of Sonic Adventure? You could do that in the real world. Have him running down San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play the funky bass song.
You could still have him set in the real world, quote unquote, and actually do that.
Sonic has a bunch of great music. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure that they're maybe going to make a couple references, but
Sonic Heroes.
The band who does a lot of the Sonic songs, Crush 40, they did Live and Learn, and they did Sonic Heroes and a bunch of other songs. They posted on Instagram either earlier today at the time of this recording, or I think it was earlier today, that they were not contacted at all. And they had this little speech or whatever where they're like, let the executives know that, we would totally be down to add to the film. We can always make it better and that sort of thing. And I'm like, you know what? They're right. They should have gotten Crush 40 for this because they are the band that whenever anyone thinks of Sonic songs, a lot of them are their music, everyone loves Live and Learn and Open Your Heart, and
it's only uphill from here.
Yeah.
Did they do Seven Rings in Hand?
They did a cover of it, but they didn't do the original. That was a different band.
Seven Rings in Hand.
Yeah. Make Believe Reborn like a million times.
Listen, I may not have played many Sonic games, but I played Sonic and the Secret Rings on the Wii.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I would go out and say that's the worst 3D Sonic game. I'm not I think that's worse than 06, if you want my opinion.
But yeah, I mean, music is one way to evoke feelings. Okay, look at Detective Pikachu. Sure, what is that song? Me and You? I don't know what that song is actually called. That song is not from a Pokemon game, but it's very familiar to anyone who's ever played a Nintendo game or was watching TV in the early 2000s, because that's the music that played for the commercial for Smash 64. They didn't directly be here's a Pokemon song, but they were here's a song that still relates to Pokemon because Pikachu was heavily featured in the trailer, and they made it work with that trailer. Yeah.
Not to mention it's very upbeat and joyful, and that's what Pokemon is. It reflects the material.
Also, Pikachu doesn't come to the real world.
Yeah, it's set in the
real
Pokemon
world comes
world.
to Pikachu.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
Exactly. But no, Gangsta's Paradise, that's the perfect song I think of. When I think of Sonic, I think of Coolio.
Yeah,
clearly.
I think of social commentary about the hood.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
And I think about a rapper with really weird hair. And all that.
When I think of Sonic, I think of two genres. I think of rock and roll, and I think of electronica. and rap is not either of those things, and it's just so out of place and so unfitting. Like, I saw a bunch of videos of people just being like, why did they do this? Like, nobody understands it.
My theory is that it's invoking nostalgia. Like, remember the early 90s when Sonic was good and Coolio was on the radio?
There's so many other 90s songs they could have picked.
Exactly. The executives are like, rock music is dead. We need rap because that's in right now.
But rap, like, oh my gosh. The perfect song would have been Kickstart My Heart. I'm telling you, I've been saying this so much. Imagine it. Set the scene. Sonic's on the road. He's just kind of standing there. He's got an MP3 player, and he's just, he puts the earbuds in, and you hear the buildup. And then he gets on the ground. He's like, gotta go fast. And then as soon as he shoots off, it's like, whoa, yeah. And then the rocks coming in. Like, that would have been perfect. Why didn't they do that? Like, oh, that would have been great. That'd instant ticket from me if they did that.
I think they should have gone with something maybe clever though, like I don't know, like Electric Feel, something like Life in the Fast Lane maybe.
Yeah, they could have done something, something that's at least related in some capacity.
Anything Queen, just do anything Queen.
Yeah,
they're in right now with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Don't Stop Me Now, maybe.
Yeah,
Don't Stop Me Now actually works perfectly for Sonic.
Yeah, that'd have been great.
And speaking about the trailer itself, I hate it because it tells me nothing about the movie. Like, it's not a teaser trailer. This is an actual trailer, and here's what it shows. It's like, here's Sonic, which we'll get to that, and then the military's hunting him, and he's got a buddy. But, who is this other character he's hanging out with? The human? I couldn't tell you anything about him.
Wait.
It's James Marsden.
Wait, did you say this trailer didn't tell you anything? Because I feel like it told me the whole movie.
Oh, it didn't tell me anything about the important things. The only thing it told me was the stupid, coming to the real world bit.
All right. I'm going to lay this whole movie's plot out for you right here, right now. All right. This is my prediction. I want it on record. So I'm predicting that this is how the movie's going to go. Sonic's going to wind up on Earth somehow. And he's going to be he's going to be a fish out of water. He's not going to know where he is or whatever. And he'll just, run around or whatever. Eventually, he'll cause a sonic boom. This sonic boom will wipe out the power, and the military will pick up on it. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, what was this power surge? We need to figure this out. We need to call in the expert. They call in Dr. Eggman, which I assume they'll call him Robotnik, but...
I think they'll probably call him Steve at this point.
I mean, maybe. I assume they'll call him Robotnik, and he'll come in and he'll be chasing around after Sonic and this cop, and this cop knows who Sonic is, and he's trying to help Sonic out, but Eggman's trying to, catch Sonic for the government. But he repeatedly fails to get Sonic, and it causes him to turn more and more crazy, which is why progressively over the film, he begins to look more and more like Eggman. And then at the end of the film, he decides to break away from working with the government, because he's totally insane, tries to get Sonic and conquer the world all by himself. Sonic then saves the day, and the government's like, oh, you're not so bad. And then he either goes home or stays. They could do either or with that. But that's my general prediction for how this movie's going to go. So,
or set up a sequel.
Yeah, we'll see Amy or someone in the stinger.
It'll be a really bad silhouette like that motion poster.
Right?
Shadow, are you saying that Sonic knocked out my power and that's why we had to re-record this?
Yeah, you know what? That's probably what it was.
Okay.
The curse of this cursed movie.
How long did it take you to regain your sight after seeing Sonic's design?
I was blinded.
I don't.
How many hours?
I don't think I've fully recovered, to be honest.
Were you ever able to look at a loved one again and feel that same feeling in your heart?
Oh.
Or has the spark been gone forever?
I can definitely say a part of me died that day. Oh.
Again, I don't particularly care about Sonic, but even I'm just like, what have you done to my boy?
I watched a video over the weekend, and it was these 3 visual effects artists reacting to good CGI and bad CGI. And they took a look at, Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're like, wow, this is just visual effects magic. Each one of his tentacles moves around, and oh my god, the artists understand lighting so well, and he looks so great, and the model is so realistic. And then they show Sonic, and they're just like, why? No, this is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh god, there's so many things. I think the thing that I personally hate about him the most is his, like, the way his head attaches to his body. Because Sonic doesn't really have, like, a neck in the games, but, like, he also doesn't really have shoulders, right? If I'm remembering Sonic correctly, he's got kind of like an egg-shaped body almost.
Yeah.
And so, like, the way his head attaches, it is cartoony, but it kind of looks right for him. I don't really, like, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like it's something that might be difficult to translate into, like a CG that's supposed to be in a movie, even though, you know, Sonic is a character that is in CG. Like, he's not like a 2D character that they really have to... But anyway, the way he looks now, he looks like his head is, like, sunken into his body. Like, it doesn't look like something that could ever realistically exist. Like, you look at Pikachu from Detective Pikachu and you're like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, he's kind of a little off-putting, but, like, yeah, I could see a creature looking like that.
I don't even care if it's realistic. I just want it to look good.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case here.
Same here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it has to look realistic. I'm just saying it has to look believable inside the. But if they had just copied Sonic's design, I wouldn't care about that either. Either way, the creepy shoulders and, like, the way his neck sits, I don't know. He looks like just a short person with, like, a really like just no neck.
Yeah, his proportions are really odd.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. They're completely different proportions from his actual model, and
he's, like, lanky.
Yeah. And it's like he's lankier than Sonic Boom Sonic, which is weird to think.
Oh.
And the teeth
The
and
eyes.
the eyes and yeah.
The teeth.
Oh dear.
Oh, the eyes.
Dear.
It's not even freelance CG artists. I mean, they're doing it too, but it's like just any artist. Like every artist. Like, and they're all doing a better job.
Here's what I don't get. So, like, I understand that, you know, the artists who clearly designed Sonic for this movie, you know, there's executive say, and, you know, they clearly have to go by the guidelines set out for them. But whoever is the one who has the final say on this design, have they ever, like, looked at anything Sonic before? Because I don't see how they could look at this and say, yeah, that'll sell. Like, yeah, like, I'm just like it baffles me from a merchandise standpoint. Did they really think people wanted to buy something with that on it? Like, it's not visually appealing. Like,
I think they already released, like, prototypes for what the costumes were going to look like too, because this movie comes out, or at least it's slated to come out in November. And that's like Halloween time, so they're definitely making stuff to kind of coincide with that.
I'm just completely baffled at how they think that this design would sell. And clearly people think it looks ugly.
Even the furry community distance themselves from this.
So people aren't going to buy merchandise of this. Like, they want the cartoony, appealing, you know, snarky Sonic, not this monstrosity.
But the thing about it is that, like I said, like, this is what the trailer was, right? That Sonic is the only thing about it that really screams that this is Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic himself. And I feel like the whole trailer was really supposed to be like this big, super amazing show off of Sonic. Like, that's what the trailer is. But when that main thing that they're showing off has such a negative reaction, it's just like, dang, man, they screwed up so much.
They really did. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they try to recover from this.
Well, so that's like the next thing, is that the director of the film tweets out that they're gonna change it. Thank you for your support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie. Hashtag gotta fix fast. Wrench emoji, peace sign emoji.
Is that implying that they were happy with the design? Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And then, well, some people were very happy about this, but a very large subset of people seem to extrapolate that the animators are going to be put in like a sweatshop and forced to work 24-hour days to fix this.
I don't think they would have had much work beyond this anyway, because I feel like in terms of just the production timeline, the film would have been entering. The film is definitely already deep in post-production, but like kind of more into the later aspects like sound mixing and color correction and editing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a... We'll talk about like the consequences of the change, but I wanted to address this first because I just found this to be really ridiculous. The thought that like...
People think that others are going to get laid off.
Right, and it's like, maybe, but like, where's the evidence? Like, there's like a million other shady things going on in Hollywood right now. Like, just because they have to make this change fast doesn't mean that, maybe it means more people have jobs for, more CG effects.
Hire some temps, yeah.
I'm not saying that this is like a positive, but it's just like, I feel like this was a really weird way to turn what the fans wanted into like well, the fans screwed this up. Hardworking people are now going to be in real trouble because of these fans. And it's like, this has never happened before, first of all. No one ever thought that their reaction to the Sonic movie was going to get them to actually change the design. That's like almost never happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all. And then second of all, it's like, the director made this choice. Like, a director has final say, aside from whatever the producers and the execs say. Whether, you can claim that we influenced them all you want, and sure we did, but like, the director has the final say. If the director was 100% sold on that this is the design, and this is his true vision, and this is what he wants to go with, and this is what the execs are happy with, that design ain't changing. It's only changing because there was at least a part of him that was like, either wanted it to be changed in the first place or was unsure about it or was open to criticism about it. But I don't know. I just wanted to address that because jumping to that specific conclusion to turn this into like a big negative thing and like, look at this hateful Sonic community ruining people's lives. It's like, get off it, man. Like, focus on actual problems in the world instead of like this hypothetical overworked employee that like you don't really care about.
Yeah, because we don't even know if they're going to be. Like, the thing is like, it's hearsay.
It's like happened, but you can't just assume like that.
Exactly, because for all we know, they could have the time to fix it. And people are just assuming they don't because they assume that they're working, I mean, obviously they're working down to the last minute, but, they're assuming they don't have the time. Maybe they do. Maybe they made the decision to change it because they are capable of doing it.
Maybe they hired a company. They're going to hire like an outside company to come and do touch-ups.
Exactly.
Maybe it's literally like this is going to change the design. They didn't say they were going to overhaul everything. The change of the design could literally be like, well, we gave them less human-looking teeth. Which, I mean, still would require a lot of work, but that doesn't require like changing the lighting of every scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, but onto the actual design change itself. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? That the idea that you can react to a trailer and based upon that reaction in real time, like the next day, a tweet could come out that says, all right, we're going to change it.
I'm glad. I mean, I think this is really a case-by-case thing, but I think Paramount's really desperate, and they need a lot of money to be infused into their system, and this movie was, at least in my opinion, primarily made to sell. It's not some sort of creative statement or artistic masterpiece from an auteur filmmaker trying to make a social commentary statement. I mean, if you really exaggerate, maybe this is that, but I mean, they really need money and they really need the fans' approval. So under these circumstances, I think it's appropriate that they're redesigning the character.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it is a relatively clear-cut case in this instance, yeah, because I mean, certainly, I'm sure there are people out there that liked Sonic's design, or at least that felt like it wasn't so bad, and maybe they're worried about what it's going to turn into, which, sure, there's a valid concern that maybe they'll make the design worse. But, like, when the overwhelming majority of people are saying that, like, you got the main character of your movie, the main selling point of everything, literally, like, the only thing this movie has to do with Sonic the Hedgehog outside of, like, Eggman, who isn't even really like Eggman for most of the movie based on the trailer, like, that's something that is worth a change. We're not talking about, like fans being upset about the color of a dress that a character is wearing in a scene or something really pedantic. This is a huge thing. So, yeah. I mean, I think it'd be a different story if the fans were a lot more split and then they decided to make a change, or if the director had come out and said, I really love this design, this is the design I want, but for the fans, I'll do it. You know, like, I feel like there are versions of this, or if this were to happen again, I would be a little concerned about the director giving up creative control just in the name of, like, chasing exactly what audiences want, because audiences don't always know what they want. I think in the case of not liking the way the main character looks, like, to the point where thinking he's horrendous is definitely something worth changing. But sometimes little things, little plot details, little whatever could look bad in trailers, but then audiences might have loved them if it had time to actually come out.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree there completely. I feel like it's a double-edged sword on some aspects. You know, it really is a case-by-case basis, because, as you said, there are some things that might not look good in a trailer that would look good in a movie. But in the case of Sonic's design here specifically, this is definitely something that I want to see changed, as a lot of people do, because this is the main focus, the central character. Like, the entire movie is based around him, so he kind of, I think, if he doesn't look good, who's gonna want to see it? You know?
Yeah. There's also people that were saying that this could have been a marketing stunt.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't see it.
I don't think so either.
I don't either.
If it were a poster, right? The first poster comes out and then there's an overhaul, right? Or there's like a leaked image and that leaked image doesn't turn out to be really representative. I think maybe there's a case there, but I because there's a chance that people would see, like, you know, people like me, not crazy interested in Sonic, but like maybe I'd go see this movie out of curiosity. I see that initial trailer and I'm like, oh god, Sonic looks horrifying. I don't want to go see that movie. And then maybe I don't see the tweet that says they're gonna fix it, or I don't pay attention to any other trailers. Maybe I don't have the crazy friends that I do. You know, then that's someone that's not gonna see your movie. Like your weird trolling attempt failed.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it'd be on this big a scale. That's just, I mean, anything's possible, but I don't think so.
I don't either. I don't really buy it. I mean, like, Sonic is definitely embedded in meme culture, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I don't think that, especially considering this is very executive driven. I mean, it's so obvious.
Well, the director hasn't done anything else, right?
No.
Monsters, you look this up.
He has some other experience in the realm of animation, but yeah, no, this is his first feature film directing credit.
Which, to me, my cynical self says that they do that when the studio wants something that the studio has complete control over, right? They put a director that, this director, like you're saying, this is not like some sort of big auteur thing that, like, you know, his grand vision, his grand statement about Sonic, like, he might truly want to make a great Sonic movie. I don't doubt that.
Right.
But, like, you know, they put someone like that in charge, and then this guy gets experience directing. This guy gets his name on something. You know, he does get to make a lot of directorial choices, but ultimately, you're not bringing in, like, the Russo brothers or, you know, some Joss Whedon, or like someone that's got like a reputation that, like, will stand up to the studio and even quit if they disagree.
He'd probably have to
This
remain
guy's
fairly
not doing that.
submissive.
Which, again, no disrespect to this gentleman. I mean,
Right.
maybe he might be doing a great job. But just, like, to me, that says that, yeah, the studio really wants to make money off of this movie, and it doesn't want to take a chance. It wants this to be the safest thing it could be, and yet it had all this backlash, and it's just like, meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds is, like, sipping on some tea, relaxing on Hawaii beaches, being like, I attached myself to the right franchise.
It wanted to be safe by doing nothing related to Sonic. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's play it safe by completely abandoning the source material.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot more Sonic the Hedgehog news, but
Yeah.
This is making me look more forward to Detective Pikachu, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, that comes out this week, right? Or the next week?
Yeah, very soon.
Cool.
All right, so in breaking news that Shadow and Monsters don't know about, but Pi knows about because he was just scrolling down his Twitter feed, our recurring recast subject, The Substitute, is getting a second episode.
Oh yeah, with Lily Singh.
Oh, I guess you knew about it. Yes.
Now, the weird thing about this is I think I read that it's premiering on May 18th.
Yes.
When the first episode premiered on April 1st, that's like a 1.5 month break between two episodes.
They pulled a Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
And also, the first episode's gonna air a special revealed encore on Saturday. Thanks, Nick. Thanks to Nick and Moore.
Yeah, thanks, Nick and Moore. Yeah, this is odd. I mean, I guess Lily Singh is technically a celebrity.
Who is she? She's
a YouTube star. She goes under the name Superwoman on YouTube. She makes a bunch of skits where she like acts as her parents. It's almost kind of like I guess the best comparison I can make is like Vine or Instagram comedy, except on YouTube. And recently, Carson Daly, he had a NBC late night show that was after Seth Meyers, and she just got announced as taking over that helm. So she's also going to be the host of an NBC late night show, which I guess is a big deal for a YouTuber. She's done, in terms of just YouTubers in general, she's done a good job of kind of breaking into mainstream media. So good for her, I guess.
You really have your eye on that one.
Yeah, I pay too much attention to pop culture.
Does that mean we could get on The Substitute? We're YouTubers.
Yeah, technically speaking, yeah.
They'll just like wheel in a phone or something, and they'll be like, "Your substitute teacher this week is two voices."
We'll be like the teacher from Ned's Declassified.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Except at the end, we have to come out in the costumes of our character mascots.
We're just holding up a cardboard face.
Yeah.
Like,
ha!
Oh, goodness.
It'd also be really funny, too, because we talk a lot of crap about Nickelodeon.
Do you want to see Pie and Monsters coming to your school being your substitute? Tweet hashtag recast in your school to Nickelodeon for more information.
So, guys, Nickelodeon's kicking the bucket, am I right?
As a prank, Monsters and Pie are going to talk some naughty words about Nickelodeon.
So, this new CEO guy, Brian Robbins, sounds like he really has his stuff together, right?
Hey, kids, you hear about that Sima lady? Don't you love how she screwed a bunch of people out of paychecks?
Good thing we're not on the payroll.
Oh, man.
But you guys are $25,000.
So from what you're telling me though, Lily Singh is like that's a pretty good get, because it doesn't seem like someone that's going to be super expensive, but it isn't just like some random Joe Schmo YouTuber like us.
Yeah, I mean, she has a lot of universal appeal, but I don't also know exactly if her audience is representative of that that watches Nickelodeon. I could be wrong, but
that's fair. Yeah, they should get Captain Man on.
Captain Man. Oh yeah, Captain Man.
I don't know who he is. He's not Jace Norman.
Yeah,
I can tell you that much.
They should get Jerry Trainer. Jerry Trainer would be a great substitute teacher.
He would, but like, iCarly's been a while, man. I don't know that people would recognize.
I mean, Crazy Steve and Spencer, dude. Like, imagine if he just like threw like a mental tantrum and like broke a TV and started screaming and stuff.
Oh my god!
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, it would be kind of crazy if this just week after week of celebrities pulling like these really lame like pre-recorded stunts, and then you get someone like, I don't know, like Jim Carrey or someone
Steve-O
doing. Yeah. Oh God. Steve-O's pretty mellow right now.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of Johnny. You want Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah.
They just come in and they're just like smashing chairs and like the execs are like, oh no, those poor children, and then internally they're like, oh, this is good television.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's your impromptu news bulletin. In other Twitter-related news, there's an Adventure Time full series box set on DVD.
DVD, you say? That's like the latest tech innovation.
It's only 20 years out of date.
Wow. And it's fairly inexpensive.
I'm surprised this didn't come out on 86 VHS tapes.
Oh, I'm still on Laserdisc.
Look, I'm sure there's people out there that are gonna be like, Pieguy, don't be a snob. Like, DVD's fine. But the thing is, it's not HD. And like, Adventure Time was one of Cartoon Network's first homegrown shows to be not just like produced in HD, but actually shown in HD.
Right.
Like other shows like Foster's were produced, at least in part, in HD, but like those aired years before Cartoon Network would push HD. So
right.
like you may not even, I didn't know Ben 10 was produced in HD.
Yeah, in the late 2000s, they had a separate channel feed that was just for HD. But then, like, around the time when Adventure Time and Regular Show and Gumball came to air, they merged it and made Cartoon Network's primary feed HD. And that's why the majority of, or if not all of Adventure Time's broadcast history was in HD.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of a big deal because you do lose out on some of the definition, and the show, I don't know, like, if I think of flagship, like, turning of the guard, turning into HD, it's like I think of Adventure Time.
Yeah.
And there's already Blu-rays of individual seasons out. I already own quite a few seasons in Blu-ray, and Adventure Time is available for stream on Hulu. I don't know if they got the last episodes in, but, like, the first 8 seasons are on there. And it's just kind of like, there's all these superior ways to watch this. Why am I going to spend $86 to buy something that, admittedly, the box looks nice and the packaging is nice, and it's nice I like owning physical media, but it's just like, I'm paying a lot to not get the best version of this, right? And I'm not the only one that feels this way, because Cartoon Network's tweet, I'm going to read these comments. Why no Blu-ray? It's 2019. Please release it on Blu-ray. Yeah, I'm not buying a DVD box set when I can import the Australian Blu-ray versions. Release a US Blu-ray box set and I'll buy that. A 20-plus-year-old format. Release a Blu-ray too. Like,
yeah, Cartoon Network has had they started to release stuff in Blu-ray. They released, like you mentioned, some of the Adventure Time stuff, some early Regular Show as well. But I don't know why. I'm sure that there's a reason why they stopped. Maybe it was just too expensive. They weren't selling as well as DVDs, and they're a lot cheaper to make than Blu-rays. But yeah, if you look at all of Cartoon Network's latest, like Craig of the Creek and Ben 10 Reboot and We Bare Bears and all of those releases are all in standard DVD. They kind of gave up on the Blu-ray stuff.
But to me, that's like nuts, because all this stuff is available for streaming in a higher quality.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in having physical media just because, like, I love streaming.
Right.
But sometimes series leave streaming services, and, maybe there's a day that I won't agree with, like, a certain streaming service's practices and I won't want to pay for it. Like,
or they'll cut out an episode.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. There's good reasons for it, but the streaming does also exist, right?
Yeah.
And if there's a good reason for me to not have the physical release, then sure. And if I bought this and then, like, a few months later they said, all right, here's your Blu-ray, then how would I feel for dropping $86 on an inferior format?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's like, it's smart to just wait, because who knows? Maybe they will release a Blu-ray version in the future. You never know. I don't see what the point is for, like, no matter what show it would be. Powerpuff Girls is like the one exception. No matter what show it would be, I'm not gonna buy it in an inferior quality when I already have it available to me on a streaming service. Like, I never really got into Adventure Time, but I know for a fact that if I ever do decide to watch through the series, I'm probably gonna watch it on Hulu, because that's where it is, and it looks so much better.
And it looks beautiful. We talked about the show a few weeks ago. Simon and Marcy in particular, those backgrounds are gorgeous, and you're not going to get the same definition in, 480?
Exactly.
Yeah,
when there's thin
I believe
outlines and so many intricate details, that stuff just gets lost in standard definition.
I actually have the first 2 seasons on DVD, because, I mean, we're going years back. I might not have even had a Blu-ray player when these came out. I have the first 2 seasons, and I actually do notice that, like, there's, like, a weird, like around the black outlines, there's kind of like this weird, like, white outline around it. It's really weird, but it's like, it's not the best quality. And yeah, and I think, honestly, a compromise, something that might get me to bite, if they came with digital copies as well, right?
Yeah.
Adventure Time, the Blu-rays that I got actually did come with digital copies on a service called Vudu, and you know what? If I could say, well, I get the benefit of owning a physical copy just in case, but I also, quote unquote, own it on digital too, in the best format that I can watch conveniently, then I feel like that's a compromise, because it costs them nothing to do that, right?
Yeah.
To give me a digital version of something I physically own. So if you're not going to release it in the best quality on disc, at least give me access to the best quality of it. Yeah. Just my little diatribe. Also, side note, I got Gravity Falls full series on Blu-ray this week. I also got BoJack seasons 1 and 2 with the coasters that we talked about a few weeks ago. Didn't come in yet. That's coming later in May. But I got Gravity Falls. Shout Factory did a great job. It was around the price. I think it was like $60 or $70. It was around the price of this Adventure Time one, but it's on Blu-ray. Every episode had a commentary. There's like an hour and 40-minute documentary where they talk about the show. There's every single short they did, which adds up to like, it's like basically like a half hour of shorts, and a few other bonus features as well. Like it's a solid release. It's a little pricey, but it is on Blu-ray. It's on the best format. It looks good. That's really all there is. If Gravity Falls, right, which is a great show and very beloved, but if Gravity Falls deserves Blu-ray, then so does Adventure Time. I would not say that Gravity Falls is more beloved than Adventure Time. I would say maybe about equal.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Warner Home Media. They don't do a great job exactly.
Moving right along, SpongeBob's Getting a Game Show. True or false? Trick question, because you guys know, because we recorded this episode before. Yeah, SpongeBob's Getting a Game Show.
All right, so I need to clarify this because I forget what we said last. This is one of the spin-offs, right? God. I'm just trying to make sure.
Why do you need a clarification? Is it a show? Is it a show featuring a SpongeBob property that came out after they announced that they were working on many different projects? Okay. Why do you need classification? No, it is. Okay. It is what. Because... No, we
Is it a show though?
Yeah, that's my thing is like when I heard it, I thought they were all like, animated shows. I didn't realize it was a game show.
Like remember when Phineas and Ferb did that talk show featuring real people in front of a green screen? Is that a spinoff?
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
How is that not, when they talked about diversifying SpongeBob's brand, how do you not see that as like don't get me wrong. I think they're going to do like Patrick Star the series and like those other things that like we think they're going to do. I'm not saying this is all they've got, but like they say they're going to do this stuff and then they announce this and it is like a weird Facebook and YouTube series. I'm not saying that it's like a TV show, but it's one of their SpongeBob projects. Why is there an argument about this?
I mean, I guess it's true. It is a SpongeBob property, but I guess my logic is just that it's more promotional material than it is content.
Okay,
exactly.
Do you think that matters to them?
No, I don't.
do you think there's a difference? Is anything non-promotional material for SpongeBob? Is the movie just a promote? Yes and no. Like
it just completely catches me off guard because this is what I get for assuming, obviously. But when I heard, the last thing I expected was a game show. So like, I was just completely flabbergasted when I'm like trying to put this together in my mind because it's just not clicking for me.
This was when we recorded this initially. This was like a big 10-minute argument between me and Shadow and Monsters because you guys were like, it's not considered a spinoff, and it's like. I mean, not in the traditional sense, but like this is one of their projects, and I think this is part of what they're going for.
I think in their marketing to kind of like make themselves look better, I think they're going to consider this a spinoff, just to be like, we have a fully fledged spinoff coming, even though it's just kind of like a side thing.
Oh, are you kidding? Yeah, are you kidding me? This is what oh god, every year in the upfronts they'd have this like long nonsense thing about like a Nickelodeon has. Truly created immersive content through the second screen experience on their iPad app and Nickelodeon.com, which has 8.6 million unique views. Like all that crap. That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say, and we've breached that barrier to have a more direct relationship with Nickelodeon consumers via Facebook and SpongeBob's official YouTube channel.
No, that's exactly what they're gonna do.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the actual, like, what we know about it, it seems like just kind of like a Double Dare, like, messy, like, probably very cheap because it's on YouTube and Facebook. Probably going to be short, maybe like 5-10 minutes. But it seems like they're going to take 2 SpongeBob fans and give them trivia and maybe, like, dump Snail Po on them or something. It's the most important meal of the day.
Serving it up Gary's way.
And the entire game show is underwater. They're wearing snorkels.
Do you think Tom Kenny's gonna be the host?
Oh my gosh.
In a SpongeBob costume?
I don't think he will.
It's gonna be
or Patchy.
Can they get Patchy?
There you go.
I feel like they'd probably get a YouTuber to do this. Like I'm feeling like I don't know, like Andre Black Nerd or someone like him. Like
PIEGUYRULZ maybe?
No, someone they could pay off.
Yeah.
No shade on that guy, but like, one of those media influencers that's like a lot more positive and non-critical.
Like iJustine. They always get iJustine to speak at like every game convention.
Yeah, something like that, or maybe Jason Norman.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find that we talked about Jason Norman so much that his name is just always going to be in my head, and just like he is the Nick celebrity
in this SpongeBob game show featuring guest voice Jason Norman as SpongeBob.
And in the end, he reveals he's been Jason Norman the whole time.
Hey kids, it's me, Jason Norman. Want to take a photo?
But anyway, I mean, yeah, like the game show itself, it looks cute. Like it's not really anything, but it's just kind of, it's a little eyebrow raising if this is the sort of project they have in mind for SpongeBob. It is kind of clearly like I don't want to say cash grab, but like a desperate grab to make SpongeBob more than just a TV show.
I mean, they said they're going to take 2 super fans and then give them SpongeBob trivia, right? We were wondering, like, how deep is the trivia going to be? Like, very specific, or just like, right? What is the name of Mr. Krabs' restaurant?
Coming up with SpongeBob trivia is hard because things are so unique to an episode. You know what I mean? Like, you could ask, like, what was SpongeBob's response to the hash-slinging slasher in episode 2, season 2, episode 4, Night Shift, or what's that episode called?
The Graveyard Shift?
Yeah.
How
I can't even see. I can't.
How could you? That's like my favorite episode. Unsubscribe. No,
Nosferatu.
See, people get up my butt about this sort of thing.
I'm just kidding, man.
People pull an Ant-Man, and they're all like, "Pieguy, how could you forget that?" And it's like, because it only happens in one episode that I watched 8 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? And the other thing too is that episodes contradict each other. Like Little Yellow Book says SpongeBob's afraid of like plaid, and he's clearly interacted with plaid in other episodes. So it's like, are they specific? Are they going to be like, in Little Yellow Book, what is SpongeBob's greatest fear? Or are they just going to be like, yeah, like, what is the name of the beach that SpongeBob frequents? Like, I feel like you either have to go incredibly broad or incredibly specific, and neither of which make for really good trivia, unless you're on the recast and you're trying to stump your friends and you come up with really obscure, stupid trivia.
Where 3 criminals try to steal the rust bucket. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, never forget.
Can't choose both.
Never forget.
Yep.
I remember I asked one question. It was just like, Mrs. Puff takes SpongeBob on like a driving test or something. Because that was like an episode synopsis.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, so yeah, that's coming. Also the 20th anniversary, like the actual day happened, but we're not really going to talk about that because we have very, very sad but very big plans for when the 20th episode drops. There's another TV movie they did celebrating a SpongeBob anniversary that heavily features live action and is very controversial.
Oh yes.
Atlantis Square No, celebrating SpongeBob's 9th anniversary. No, so that's that. Really quickly, I want to touch on, because I know we're gonna get to Endgame. Don't worry, guys. The Obamas, we heard like months ago that they had signed a contract with Netflix to produce like 6 or 7 documentary type shows on Netflix. And we just kind of have a little more detail. One of them is called American Factory, a documentary that examines life in Ohio, where a Chinese billionaire opened up a factory in a former General Motors plant and hired 2,000 people. It sounds like a lot of really interesting, really diverse and like educational, but also possibly interesting, possibly exploring some sides of America that we haven't necessarily seen. So yeah, I mean, nothing that really like sticks out to me as like, I personally want to see this stuff, but if I already have Netflix and one of the trailers pops on, these look like the sort of things that maybe like one day I would be interested in watching.
I'll probably check out some of them just because his name is attached to it. Like, I mean, I don't know how much creative input he's going to have. I mean, for all we know, this could just be more of like a business thing than like an actual creative thing. In terms of his partnership, I mean, I know that he's definitely gonna like review the content and make sure that it's like it's good, but I mean, his name being attached to it, I don't think really like I'm sure that there's gonna be a certain level of quality that comes along with it, but beyond that, I don't think there's really anything creatively like I don't think we're really gonna see any of like Mr. Obama's policies showcased, very precisely in these documentaries.
Well, the article does say that he's not going to be directly attacking the current administration, which it's like, duh. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen Barack Obama take pot shots at.
He's a very classy guy.
He's definitely made a stand, and he definitely, is not afraid to speak his mind and his policies as, as should be. But he is not one to like make pot shots, or like I didn't expect there to be a documentary that's like the current administration, where it all went wrong.
Yeah.
Like that would be a little for an ex-president to come out and do that. That would be,
Yeah.
not what I would expect from Obama. And it seems like he's instead focusing on interweaving social issues that he cares about into these shows in a way that's natural for the shows, instead of being like, here's Barack Obama propaganda.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be partisan.
So the only reason I put this in here really is just because this is what Netflix needs right now. When we talked about like, well, it's time to leave Netflix behind. Disney Plus offers so much more content for like half the price. This is the sort of thing that they need, and this is just clearly a sign that this is where they're going. Netflix originals. Netflix will live or die on Netflix originals.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
Where's that Kirk McCracken show?
Where is it?
I'm so looking forward to that. I'm so excited.
Also, really quickly, Phil Lord and Chris Miller are developing Marvel TV Universe with a 9-figure Sony overall deal. These are the guys behind the Lego Movie and Into the Spider-Verse. So, they're pretty good. They know their stuff. They're making a bunch of Marvel TV shows, like live action, which is interesting. Comedy, drama, animation, and beyond.
Wow.
Yeah.
I trust these guys. They've always made pretty good stuff, so.
Yeah, I've never been disappointed with something by them, so like I'm totally down.
If they could take those pieces of plastic that I step on and cry about, and make me cry about them for other reasons, then yeah, I mean, good for them.
Fair point.
They've got a really good track record, especially lately, and these are the kind of deals. These are the kind of people I like to see in making stories.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If the recast is, we're not 120% against reinvigorating old ideas and old heroes and old characters, but if you're gonna do it, you got to do it like Into the Spider-Verse, or you got to do it like the Lego Movie. And I feel like these guys have made an art out of taking these characters and these things that are very, very familiar and putting them in this just crazy style and just heartwarming moments and great stories. And so,
yeah,
Lord and Miller, you are the recast honorary heroes for this week.
Woo!
In a segment that we're only doing this week.
Yes. I just want to do a quick in memoriam for Chris Riccardi. As you guys might have heard, he passed away last week from a sudden heart attack. He was only 54. But I just wanted to recognize him for his contributions to animation, because he has a lot of film credits. I believe he worked on the Lego Movie, the Lego Batman movie. He worked on those, and he was also associated with Ren and Stimpy, SpongeBob. He worked on a lot of early cartoons like Powerpuff Girls. He worked on Samurai Jack. So he made a really big impact on the industry, and I just wanted to bring light to his name.
That's very unfortunate, but thank you for bringing that, though, this week, Monsters.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so here is where the Avengers Endgame spoilers will begin, and like I said, they're going to carry on the rest of the episode. You can check out our spiffy duds that we're transforming into if you're taking a look at the YouTube screen right now. If you're not, then just don't worry about it. But that's the signal that we are.
I have eyeliner now, and I have long hair. What's happening?
I'm sorry, little one.
I'm kind of digging the flowing hair, not gonna lie.
What did it cost? Everything.
I don't know. This feels kind of worth it to me.
I am Pie Tin Man. Okay. So, Avengers Endgame. So, the way that it makes sense for me to talk about this film is if we just kind of go down the line in terms of characters and then branch off to talk about like the stories and the elements surrounding those characters.
Sure.
Iron Man? Want to start with him?
Rip.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Oh boy. This was like the way for him to go out. Like they wrote this character, and Tony Stark's journey over all these movies is like the most interesting because he goes from just completely reckless playboy to wanting to hold himself personally responsible for what his weapons have done, to kind of going out of control because he's dying, to having a life-changing experience by throwing himself down on the grenade, so to speak, by pushing out the nuke in Avengers because of Cap's line, to having PTSD about that, to creating Ultron because he's concerned about, like, it's just there's a really long thread, and to see the finality of that thread be he was right that there was a cosmic threat coming, and no one else, save for Nick Fury, was concerned about it. Ultron was a mistake, and like I'm not trying to like rewrite history and be like, you know, he was right, but like he was right to be protecting Earth. And like the one of the craziest things is at the beginning of Avengers Endgame, when he gets home after the beginning of the ship, that acting on Robert Downey Jr. is probably the best acting in all the MCU.
When he's all frail.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so he gets off the ship, and at first, you know, he greets Pepper, of course, and he greets Cap, and he's like, you know, nice to see you. Like, you think, okay, after everything, like, you know, Civil War doesn't even matter because they've been through a lot of stuff. But then he gets inside, and he's like he's on like an IV drip or whatever. Like he's still out of it, but he just like he goes ballistic, and it's like the kind of person who did try to prepare for this, and no one else took it seriously, and everyone else thought that, you know, Ultron was a mistake, so let's never try again. And he was right. He was dead right. And it's just that's the acting on there that is amazing. And like a lot of other MCU films, Endgame strengthens or at least like is a good follow-up to Civil War, because it's not like that is just overridden or like who cares. That rift, if that rift wasn't there, then Tony might not have been like, I told you so, essentially. Tony might have been more, you know what, Cap, whatever happens, we're going to do this together. Now, eventually they get there, but he might have done that at the beginning of the movie if it weren't for Civil War.
Right. Exactly. I completely agree 100%. I think that was, I mean, between the opening where, you know, he and Nebula are floating through space, and then combined with him, you know, reconvening with the rest of the Avengers, like all of that together was such a strong start to the movie that like I was instantly hooked.
Also, that scene with the ship, something very important is that he shows Nebula kindness.
Yeah.
He's like the first person to really do it, and in that small way, he also influences this character who he's never met before, and Nebula goes on to do some really heroic things, some really crazy things in this film. And if Tony hadn't have shown her that kindness, she wouldn't be the same Nebula at the end of the movie.
Right.
She is, or is she the same Nebula at the end?
Ooh.
I don't. Anyway.
Yeah. It's really poetic that really this entire, you know, this past 10 years of the MCU has been Tony Stark's story from the beginning to the end. And I managed to rewatch the movie a couple days ago, and I really wasn't emotionally impacted when I saw it the first time, but the second time, I guess maybe I was just filled with hype, and the crowd was electric, and I was just really in it the first time. But the second time, I was kind of alone, and I was able to kind of reflect on it more. You're right. Robert Downey Jr.'s acting is really, really good, and especially at the end, it almost brought a tear to my eye. He's really good, and I know that people are going to nitpick and say that, oh, it's, you know, Thanos keeps smacking him back and forth, and it's so stupid. Why doesn't he have his helmet on at the end of the fight? But it's so that they can show his emotion.
So the actor can act.
Yeah,
exactly.
And with that said, Robert Downey Jr. nails it. I don't remember her name exactly, but shout out to whoever's been responsible for the casting of the MCU. She's credited as casting on every movie except for Incredible Hulk, which is, you know, another thing. But
which they recast anyway.
With Robert Downey Jr. as him throughout this entire journey, I really can't imagine anyone else filling that role.
There's so many things to like about this film, but one of the great things is that essentially they get to have their cake and eat it too with Tony, because he has a heroic sacrifice and he dies, and it's tragic and it's heart-wrenching, and it's like the best way for this character to go out, because if he had just gotten stabbed by Thanos or something, that would have been like Oh, like that would have been like such an unfitting demise for him. But like they have that, but then they also gave him 5 years of peace, basically.
Yep.
He had to live with a bit of guilt, obviously, but I think honestly, I think a part of the reason why he's able to get over his guilt is because he was right, and he warned them, and he tried, and he did everything that he could possibly do to prevent this from happening, and it happened. And since it happened, why not give the quiet life with Pepper a shot? And we don't get to see a lot of it, but the little glimpses we do see of him interacting with his daughter, that like cute little cabin that he has, like, it shows that and even how he acts when Cap and everyone shows up at his door. He's not angry. He's not like, get out of here, I don't want to listen to you. He's like, he says he wishes that it was a social call. He wishes that they just came over to have a nice lunch with him because there's no hard feelings, because he's moved on with his life. So I feel like even though we don't get to see a ton of it, we still get Tony Stark gets 5 years of peace.
Yeah.
And then he gets to have a heroic sacrifice.
Right. He's made the most of it. And that's one thing that, just in regards to the entire cast after the snap, everyone's off doing their own thing. And, some characters have been grieving miserably, and other characters have been kind of just trying to make their way through life. But Tony is really one of the characters who made the most.
One of two.
Yeah, one of two who have made the most of it and are like, just continuing to live life. And I really do appreciate the scenes that we did get to see with him and his daughter, especially. I Love You 3000. That part made a ton of people cry.
Yeah.
It was adorable.
I was expecting to be followed up with I Love You Infinity, and then Tony looking like, what did you just say?
Oh no.
But yeah, that might have been ruining the moment. I really appreciate Pepper in the film as well, because she kind of has a little bit of that reputation of like the character that doesn't want the hero to be the hero, basically. Like, I like her character, and she's cool in some films like Avengers, but like in Infinity War, in Iron Man 3, in Iron Man 2, like she does kind of have to play the realist, and I feel like it's very easy to make her like, Tony, if you go back and do the time travel thing, I'm gonna leave you. Like, I'm never coming. But instead, she seems to have accepted it. Like it's like she knew that this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually one thing I'm very grateful for, because I remember while I was sitting in the theater, while he was figuring out the time travel thing, and like he went over to Pepper, like right as the conversation was starting, I was like, please don't tell me this is gonna be a thing where she's like, you can't do this, don't do this, and that's gonna be like a huge conflict. Like, I'm so glad it didn't go that route. Because it made me more appreciative of the fact that after those 5 years, it wasn't going to end with some split up drama type thing.
Because I think the reasoning is because he did give her an honest 5 years.
Yeah,
exactly, and that was exactly where I was coming from. Is like, they've had their paradise for a few years, but like, this is the chance to bring back billions. So, I'm very glad that didn't turn out like that.
And Peter Parker, right?
Yes.
Like, Peter Parker is kind of the nail in it. Like, not that Tony doesn't care about like the other billions of people on the planet, but Peter was Tony's son, and it's not right that he lost a family member in the snap, and I think Pepper knows that. And I think that Peter was so important to it. And again, I mean, this just makes Homecoming even more like the moments they get to spend together. And from what we've seen in the trailers, it's gonna make the next Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man, Tony Stark's death hit too close to home. And then also, like, there's a ton of fun Tony Stark in it too, because the whole middle bit with the time traveling, and 2012 basically is treated like a joke, but in the best possible way.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of the quippy one-liners too.
Right. It's like it's like when they went back to 2012, it's back to being a Joss Whedon film.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a really nice touch, I think. Talking about Captain America's butt.
That's America's posterior right there.
And of course, him meeting his father, which is like, that's closing a loop from Iron Man 2, basically. Like, one of the oldest films. He's got regrets about his dad. he argues with Cap because Cap knew his dad. He's upset because his dad died too soon because of the Like, there's all this drama about his dad, and to get him to go back and meet his dad, like, the week that he's gonna be born, like,
it's closure. And especially it's even more poetic in the sense that he's about to die.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this last grace, you know, he's meeting his dad, and it's just like, I've accomplished it. I've done it. You know, I can go freely now.
Yeah. It was it was a great way to tie everything together. Like, this movie essentially it brought everything together, and it gave him closure. And that's why, like, during the final battle, it was this grand heroic moment, not just for him, for everyone, but especially for the character, because, you know, he is the one who ultimately gets to make that final snap to wipe out Thanos and his forces. And I wouldn't have had that any other way. It was so great from the beginning to the end, like the beginning to the end game. It was, oh, man.
So Iron Man, Tony Stark, I think we could all agree, fantastic performance, fantastic character. But personally, I honestly think of anyone, Captain America stole the show in this movie.
This is his movie. Captain America is my favorite character, and this movie did him absolute justice. It's just amazing.
He has not just some of the best, like, drama and moments, but, like,
the action.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my god, the Cap versus Cap fight. Like,
Cap versus Cap, when he gets Mjolnir, 20 seconds of him straight up beating up Thanos.
Hail Hydra. All the most memorable moments from this film for me, it's like him getting Mjolnir, Hail Hydra in the elevator, Cap versus Cap fight, like
the end.
Yeah, the ending, which we could talk about, but like, and Captain America's butt. Like, that's I think that's the funniest joke in the whole movie, and it comes up a few times, and it's just like, it's so weird, and it kind of makes fun of the 2012 costume, which, like, people don't really like anyway. God, and Chris Evans does great acting too. Like, I think Robert Downey Jr. did the absolute best, but like, everyone brought their A game to Endgame.
Yeah, I tend to prefer Cap just in relation to, like, who I like more, because I think I'm less of a quippy person and kind of outgoing person, and a bit more reserved and humble. So I guess that's why I resonate with Cap more. But yeah, I think that Robert Downey Jr. probably did do a better job of acting. Not to say that Chris Evans didn't do a great job.
Don't make it a comparative thing, but just
Yeah, for me, this is definitely my favorite film with Captain America in it. Like, this was his best performance by far. Because, you know, in a lot of other movies, I think he's all right, but he was never the character that I really latched onto. There were a lot of moments in this film where I was like, oh yeah, like, I dig this. I really like this.
Well, besides the Peggy stuff too, he's not really known to show too much emotion, at least publicly.
Yeah. And, you know, there were some scenes where I was like, you know, I really like this. I especially like that scene where he was with Black Widow after she was, you know, finished talking with everyone, and he was just there to console her, and he's like, I'm out there, you know, encouraging others to move on. And, you know, that whole conversation was...
Yeah, like, some people move on, but we don't.
We don't, exactly. That moment struck me.
Yeah, and of course what Captain America's doing is he's trying to help other people. That's what he's doing in the time.
Yeah.
He's trying to help
he's a soldier.
One of the Russo brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so I just watched Cap 1 and Winter Soldier yesterday. Oh my, like,
the Cap movies are my favorites. I love the Cap movies, especially Winter Soldier. Oh my god.
Well, like, okay, so Tony Stark, like, his journey did come full circle, but like Cap's journey literally came full circle. I wasn't trying to, but no, but like, oh my god, I could do this all day. The dance with Peggy, like the line about, like, don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. It's like, you're taking all the stupid with you. Like, so many lines and things from the first and second Captain America movies, and of course Civil War. They come back in full force, and it's just like, oh man. And I love, okay, so I love the Cap v Cap fight, not just because I think it's like a fun, really curveball, like, way to do a hero v hero fight, because there's always got to be, heroes always got to fight the heroes. Every movie, every Avengers, Civil War, you got to do it. But I like that not just because of the battle, but because it shows the difference in bright-eyed, like, 2012 Cap is before Winter Soldier, right? Yes, he had the heartbreak of coming to the future, but it's before he knew that Bucky was a murdering maniac. It's before Peggy was dead. Peggy was still alive at the time of 2012, right? Like this was a Cap that, yes, he was transplanted at time, but he really hadn't lost anything yet, you know? Versus the Cap now who lost, you know, he found out the horrible truth about his best friend. He got him back, but he's still not even really back. Like, he found out that Hydra has been within S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole time. Peggy has died, and then half the universe died because he wasn't strong enough. Like, and seeing them have a conversation is just, like, great. And I love the justification that he thinks he's Loki in disguise.
Yeah, right.
And Mjolnir, that was the most visceral reaction my audience got.
Same here.
I don't think Tony Stark's death got that reaction, because we all kind of saw that coming, basically.
Yeah.
It's a payoff from Age of Ultron. Probably my favorite scene in Age of Ultron, the after party, where he's trying to lift the hammer, and it's like Endgame makes Age of Ultron a lot stronger. It makes it feel a lot more relevant.
Yeah, it tied a lot of the ideas that were brought into that movie and into Endgame, and I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, what I love about him fighting Thanos with Mjolnir is that in the beginning of that battle, it's literally like Thor and Iron Man are like trying to wail on Thanos. Literally, like, I paid attention to this. I'm like, Captain America's like running up to him and like kicking him. Like, he's doing a really bad I'm like, oh, they're gonna do Cap like this? Like, oh, that's not, look what they've done to my boy. And then all of a sudden Mjolnir starts like flying up, and I'm like, oh, did Vision come back to life? That was my thought. That was my stupid brain being like, oh, good, they got Vision back. And then Cap held it up, and not just that he could use the hammer, but, you know, whoever holds this hammer, if they be worthy, has the power of Thor. So he's got lightning.
Yeah.
And they do all the comic booky, all the Marvel Ultimate Alliance combo moves of like, God, like he throws the shield and he hits it with the hammer, and like he's passing it
so
back
good.
and forth with Thor. Like,
Yeah, that was great. I love that fight so much. That was a great moment. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, and I mean, Cap's shield breaks. Oh, and another moment that's really, really visceral in my theater. He finally gets to say, "Avengers Assemble."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. All right.
I lost my voice that night.
Yeah. So Thor.
Thick Thor.
All right. So Thor was after Iron Man. I think Thor was my favorite character in this movie.
After Cap and Iron Man, okay, I'd say Thor's third for me. Continue.
Yeah. I like Thor a little more than Cap, but oh my gosh, Thor was, oh man, I'm so glad that they have like completely changed Thor's character for the better
Same
since
here.
Ragnarok. Like, oh my gosh, he's one of my favorites by far now. Like he's so interesting. The way his entire character arc is dealing with grief that he's been experiencing since, you know, the end of Ragnarok. He lost his home, he lost his sister and his father,
Mom and
his
dad,
mother,
And his eye,
and his
hammer,
and his brother,
and half of
and
Asgardians.
and then half the population because he didn't go for the head. Oh my gosh, it's like this guy has lost more than anyone else, and it's so interesting to see how he deals with it.
Yeah. And okay, some people thought that they weren't happy because he was played for comic relief. But like, yes, there are certainly scenes where Thor is played for comic relief. 100%. Lebowski
Absolutely.
talking about the Dark World, which is like
Fortnite.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, this is what some people's depression looks like, right? It looks like trying to mask it with a happy exterior, chugging tons of beers, playing video games, not leaving the house. Like, it's relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Talk about guilt. That is what encompasses Thor's character for most of this
100%.
movie.
right. And I like kind of funny, but like just so depressed that he's like he adopts. I would rather that than just like if he was mopey the whole movie.
Yeah,
like they gave
agreed.
him something more interesting to do, but that still shows that he's clearly very depressed over what happened. I mean, the scene
And delusional. Yeah.
right, and a lot of people kind of like, okay, when Thor cut off Thanos' head at towards the beginning of the movie, a lot of people in my theater laughed.
Same here.
But that's not funny. Like, I mean, the gore and like the fact that it's out of nowhere is kind of like unintentionally funny. But like Thor's reaction afterwards, he's crushed because it's like he
failed.
Yeah, this was like, all right, it's my do-over. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go for the head this time, and I'm gonna fix it. And he does that, and not only does that not fix anything, but they now have lost their only lead on actually fixing anything. Right? If Thanos was still alive, maybe he was lying about the Infinity Stones. Maybe they could torture. Like there's options. But he just now sliced their only lead into fixing this problem.
Yeah, it's over. There's no going back. Going back to the whole thing about people being upset about him being played for laughs. I mean, comedy is tragedy plus time, you know? It's like, I think that entire introduction scene where, you know, we see Thick Thor for the first time and he's literally grieving by drinking and playing Fortnite with Korg. It's like, yeah, it's funny, but when you really stop and think about it, it's like, wow, he's really he's at a very, very low point. And just seeing how he spends like the first half the movie just, grieving, and he's disappointed in himself, and he can't get over it. And then
I mean, he's even wasted when they're trying to come up with the plan.
Yeah.
Like he's like, okay, now first of all, the Dark Elves are scary. Ooh.
Yeah. And it's like,
and when Hulk does the snap. Well, I don't know if he's wasted, but he's like, "Oh, let me do it." And they're like, "No, you're not stable enough."
That's a little funny, but like they don't want him to snap because they know he's not with it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Thor wants to do it because he thinks that's what's going to redeem him, but like he can't even come sober to that.
Yeah.
Like
it's really, and I appreciate that because that moment he has with his mom is like the turning point for his character. And it's great because that scene not only does justice for Thor, it does justice for his mother as a character, because she never did anything in the first two movies. She was just kind of there. And it's like, it
does justice for Thor the Dark World.
I mean,
No.
I don't know if I'd go that far. But
this movie picks up the scraps of the other
No,
ones.
but that's the thing. I'm not saying that this makes the Dark World better, but I am saying that it takes the best parts, like the interactions he did have with his mom. He did have a few interactions with her in Dark World that were kind of meaningful, like talking about how how much Jane means to him and everything. Like they took that part of that movie. They took like the cool scenery of Asgard and Loki being locked up. Like they took cool aspects from that movie and put it in there, and they also made fun of it pretty heavily. Like, oh, the Aether isn't it's a liquid. It's not a stone. Like. I love it, and surprised Natalie Portman from like deleted footage or something. Like she swore she'd never come back.
She might have come back.
I think if she did, they would have given her a line. She swore she'd never do it because they treated her very poorly. Apparently there was different like leadership at Marvel back then, and also I don't know. I didn't like her role.
Generic love interest. Yeah.
Thor 2 was bad. But yeah, no, so I love that. And I love that. What snaps Thor out of it? Is it like more battling? Is it like, a pep talk from Rocket? No, it's his mom. And seeing that he's still worthy of holding the hammer. That was cool. That's...
Yeah, I absolutely love that scene. That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. And he does like, of Cap, Thor, and Iron Man in that 3 versus Thanos fight, I think he kind of does the most. Like, yes, Captain America has a really cool scene and a really cool all of that, but like Thor's dual wielding with Mjolnir and the axe, he's trying everything he can to beat Thanos. And I like the compromise that they didn't make him like suddenly thin, but they gave him his suit, which kind of like made him not look comedic.
Yeah, and like the other thing is like he was still able to beat the tar out of Thanos, despite being slightly, overweight and stuff like that. It's like it didn't impede him.
Slightly.
Well, yeah, but it didn't impede him. He's still
Right,
totally capable of, being the god of thunder, not the god of hammers. Yeah. And it's like I appreciate that because it just goes to show, it's not the physical appearance that makes the person,
Some people were upset that Thor didn't have his loop wasn't really closed. And I think the reasoning is because Chris Hemsworth, he wants to come back and do either a Thor 4 or he might be in the next Guardians. Clearly he's going to be in another movie, right? So they have to wrap up Cap's arc and they have to wrap up Tony's arc. They know they have to do that. But they're not going to waste time giving Thor an ending when he might be in other films. Most likely is going to be in other films. And I feel like he was still given enough to do. And let's not forget, Thor is probably the biggest part in Infinity War aside from Thanos.
Yeah. I love the confidence that Thor has at the end because he just spends most of the movie really down in the dumps, but then you especially see him take charge and tell Cap I get the big one, you get the small one, he's really starting to take charge and get back to his old self.
And what he needed was was Star-Lord to bully him.
Yeah. Yes.
Because even totally out of shape, even a complete drunkard, he's still one step above Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. And also, it kind of makes a lot of their lines about how chiseled he is, like the Guardians in Infinity War, even funnier, knowing that the next time they see him, he's oh, man. One thing just to go back to Cap real quick, we didn't talk about the ending.
Yeah.
He got his dance with Peggy.
He symbolically dies.
There was no other way to close out his character arc. This was the bet. I wouldn't want him to also, to take a bullet or whatever. Iron Man got the heroic sacrifice, so Cap needs to have a happy ending, I think.
As soon as they showed him after the funeral on the time travel portal, I knew exactly what was going to happen from there on out.
Mm-hmm. And the last shot of him dancing with Peg, it's just they make such a big deal about this in all of the Cap movies and how he struggles with getting another love interest and he accidentally dates her niece.
Oof.
Well, he kisses her. That's as far as, but
yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like that was the best way to write his character out. Now, on to time travel discussion.
No time travel is perfect.
Hey, don't take my line. No, I said this last week. I'm pretty sure I said this last week with Ultimate Enemy, the Danny Phantom episode, which turned out to also be what was it? Endgame spoilers out of context. We didn't know. There was theories that it was gonna be time travel, but that's not what we picked up in Ultimate Enemy. Anyway,
right.
No time travel. Yeah, no time travel is perfect. No matter how well you explain it in the story or whatever, there is always going to be a little thing that maybe doesn't line up with the explanation or doesn't seem 100% plausible. But my feelings are, I accept it. I don't care as much because time travel stories are inherently fun. They're fun. And I find it a little hypocritical that they're making jokes about Back to the Future not making sense. I thought those jokes were funny, but I find it a little hypocritical that they make fun of that movie and yet their time travel doesn't make sense either. Maybe it's hanging in a lampshade. Maybe it's, the characters are saying that, but the filmmakers are really trying to get across we're going to bend the rules too. But yeah, no, Cap going back. The Russos later explained it in an interview, which I don't like that they have to, or they felt the need to come out and explain certain things. But they say that Cap went back and put all the stones back and then spent an alternate timeline with Peggy and came back to the main one to give Sam the shield and I guess live out his golden years, maybe making some old man cameos. I'm willing to accept it. Honestly, they don't show all of it, and it does bend the rules a little bit, but I think it's worth it to give that character that nice send off. I think nitpicking about the logistics of the time travel, don't get me wrong, it can be fun. If you enjoy that sort of thing, it's fine. I nitpick about a lot of stuff, but to me, the bigger part of it was the emotional journey, was that it gave Cap an ending, was that it felt right.
Yeah,
That's how I
I'm
felt
in
about
complete agreement there because I feel like, from a storytelling perspective, if first of all, if we just sat there and, they're like, "How'd you get back? Where'd you go?" And he's like, "Well, let me tell you
it.
a story." And we get like this 15-minute exposition dump
Yeah.
about how the time travel works. It's like that would completely kill the ending. We just sat through 3 hours of all of this stuff. We need to end it on a high note.
We just want to see him dancing with Peggy.
Yeah, and that's what we got. And,
Yeah.
and he passed off the shield. He's like, "Good luck, good luck, Bucky. Good luck, Sam. You guys got this."
Enjoy
Off to
your Disney Plus
series.
series. Hey!
Exactly. So it was a good way to end the film. I was definitely satisfied with that. And
Yeah.
maybe the time travel doesn't add up here or there. The only open question I really have is what Loki did with the Tesseract. But other than that, I don't really have any other problems with the time travel that really bothered me. I mean,
The way they explained it, so the way the Ancient One and Banner explain it in the middle of the movie is essentially the way their time travel works is that if they go back to the past and change something that would prevent them from going back to the past, that creates an alternate timeline because if they were, it just creates a negative feedback loop. Doesn't make sense. In Back to the Future, it's represented by Michael J. Fox fading out, but that's just like a movie conceit because you wouldn't fade out. Like there's no timeline on you not existing in the timeline. Anyway, so that kind of makes sense if you make a change. But if you go back in time and fix that major change you did, then you prevent the alternate timeline, right? It's like the alternate timeline never happened or it merges back into the original.
exactly. And that's why my question with Loki still stands, because that's something that's never fixed.
Right. So either Loki goes off to his own alternate universe adventures, or maybe he goes to a planet that time works differently, like we've seen, and he's able to return to that spot like when he should. Like the whole Disney Plus series is like him realizing that the universe needs him back there. I don't know. And that's
Yeah.
Here's something, and here's why I don't really like them explaining this is that as we've seen with the the next Spider-Man movie trailer, which I won't say details because it is kind of like spoilery, but they're gonna it's an evolving universe, right? They're gonna follow up on what happens in Endgame. I'm not saying they're gonna explain exactly what happened to Captain America, but maybe they didn't do it because maybe they might someday. Maybe there'll be a one shot, like they'll do a short that like here's Captain America meeting the Red Skull. You know what I mean? Like maybe they will. Maybe they'll explain it in a later movie. Maybe there'll be a Disney Plus series. They want to leave the door open for more stories. That's the whole thing.
Exactly.
Not explaining something isn't a plot hole. It might be lazy writing. It might be. And in some cases it is. And I will admit they did cheat a little bit. But it's not like a plot hole just because the movie doesn't explain every little detail of what happened to you.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Like, you're allowed to criticize it. You're allowed to point out that some things might not make sense to you. But I don't know. For me, a lot of that stuff is nitpicking, and a lot of it didn't hinder or really affect my entertainment of the film in a negative light. So with that said, I mean, I just kind of sat back and enjoyed it. And yeah, there's so much stuff that you could talk about. You could talk about the fact that, Iron Man can just make an impromptu infinity gauntlet in comparison to one that was forged by gods that made Thor's hammers, or Captain America's talking on the ground to people that are 3,000 feet in the air, or all of the Avengers, even the mortal ones, survive 2 giant explosions.
It's fun to talk about that sometimes.
They're
but
superhero movies. They're made for fun. They're made for enjoyment.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's just it. It's like, there's some small things here or there that maybe they didn't click, but they didn't detract from the overall story. Right. I was still genuinely entertained, and I can overlook those things. And like you said, they might be leaving the door open. Loki taking the Tesseract could be this entirely new, it could be the Disney Plus series. We don't know. So, it's like that didn't kill the movie. It's just an open question. I wonder what happened.
Right. Well, my theory was that maybe Cap didn't go to an alternate timeline. Maybe Cap just always was married to Peggy. But that's not what they said, so.
Yeah. See, I would have been okay with the Back to the Future logic working there, where it's like you go back and then it's like he grows old. So it's like there were 2 Caps.
Yeah, it impacts the future.
I mean, the one thing is that Banner does say that Cap has unlimited time, essentially. So maybe he saw something or was told something that changed how they thought time travel. Again, I don't know. But yeah. Moving on to other characters. Bruce Banner. Very surprising.
Professor Hulk. Yes, I loved it.
I mean, I thought I was super happy with it. Like, it was nothing at all what I would have ever expected, but it was surprising. It was fun. It was funny. It was levity when a lot of characters were depressed and a lot of things were dark. To see that one character, aside from Stark, got his stuff together and was a better person after the snap, like, that's, I don't know. Like, the movie needed a character like Hulk, and it's not like, you know, he still is relevant when it comes to the snap, when it comes to talking with the Ancient One. He's not completely sidelined.
The only thing that really disappointed me with Hulk was, again, the Hulk half of Professor Hulk did not get to redeem himself from his loss in Infinity War.
He got the snap. He snapped.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm talking about, like, you know, at the beginning of Infinity War, he loses to Thanos, and then the entire movie is Bruce trying to get Hulk to, you know, come out, and Hulk doesn't want to because he's ashamed of himself for losing and getting beaten so badly. And that's, like, completely, you know, that there's nothing comes from
right.
that.
I mean, if you go by this movie, the way this movie kind of like explains it or goes by it, Hulk isn't a different person. Hulk is just like primal Banner. Now, I don't really entirely know how I feel about I mean, either that or Hulk is just gone. And maybe that's the next chapter in Hulk's story where, like, this is more Banner in Professor Hulk, then we see more Hulk come out and Hulk's like upset that Banner has basically used his body and just regular Bruce Banner's brain. But the way this movie kind of poses it is that it's like those two halves have merged together. It's not like Hulk was ever a separate person. Hulk is just a primal, angry manifestation of Bruce Banner. But yeah, it remains to be seen. Yeah, I was a little disappointed that we got this growth off screen, because that is a huge, going from, like, you know, we got a lot of stuff to work out, buddy, directly to, hey, we're Professor Hulk and we're happy. We dab on the haters. Like, it is a little. But again, 3-hour movie, a lot of stuff going on. Hulk may or may not be in more films, so there is more time to give him, like, a really satisfying ending. And honestly, if this is his ending, he might not have specifically done anything amazing outside of Snap, but, like, it still is nice to see that this is some sort of conclusion to him, you know?
Yeah.
Hulk's journey is Banner's journey is finding peace with Hulk, and if that's what this is, then that's what this is. The dab scene. I mean, his whole scene with the lunch was hilarious with Ant-Man and, like, you know, oh no, they want your autograph too, and they're like shaking their heads. No, he doesn't. They don't want it. That's all great. The dab, okay, and the Fortnite reference, as we alluded to earlier. I am so okay with these references that I think they're really funny, because in this scene, he's dabbing. He's an old man, 5 years past when probably like 6 years, 7 years. Dabbing hasn't been relevant really in a few years, aside of a dumb and ironic joke.
Yeah, it was like 2015 or 16, right?
The whole point of that is that he's out of touch, and he's like, you know, hey, he's like a big grandpa with the kids. And also the dab happens like literally at the end of the scene that half people missed it anyway. So it wasn't prominent. And then the Fortnite thing, that's just a punchline. Like, it literally could have been any video game. It could have been COD or something. But I think Fortnite is just like, it's the most relevant game. And it's also kind of like, it's got this reputation of being like a kid's game. I'm not saying you can't play it if you're older, but it's got that reputation that there's, like, you know, it's like the reputation that COD had, basically. And so, like, it's just kind of funny that of all games that Thor's playing, it's Fortnite, the meme game.
Not to mention, Marvel has a tie-in with them, with Thanos and stuff, so.
But I'm okay with it because it's the punchline at the end of the scene. And honestly, if it was just a generic video game they made up for that scene, like 5 years from now, if Fortnite just, like, completely, no one even remembers it, that scene still plays completely fine. It doesn't ruin it. It's not like he makes a reference to something specifically Fortnite, like, you know, where we dropping, boys? Like, you know, so yeah, so I have no complaints about that. I just felt that that's important to mention because, Shadow, both you and I we've made our videos about memes and cartoons. We have our feelings.
Yeah, Yeah, because if there's one thing this movie doesn't do, it doesn't force it in our face. It's there in the background for like 2 seconds.
Speaking of in the background, did you catch that Donnie cameo in the big fight scene?
Oh
I totally
no!
Actually, I'm pretty sure Valkyrie was
Oh.
riding on Donnie.
Valkyrie was riding Donnie. Yeah.
Okay, so going down the line, we also have Hawkeye, who he didn't really do a ton.
Yeah, he's not my I don't know. Like, he was cool. I mean, I just don't really care that much about him.
That's fair.
I've never been drawn into the character as much as others. He's there, and I appreciate him as a supporting hero, but he's never drawn me the way other characters have.
Mm-hmm. I like Jeremy Renner. I think he does a good job with the performance. But yeah, he's his fight with Natasha and that whole scene, like, I think they gave him a good arc. It's just like he's kind of out of focus, so it's kind of hard to piece together. That beginning scene was heartbreaking, where his whole family got snapped. Good justification for bringing him back in after retirement, because it's like, oh, he's gonna say he's retired and then he's not again. Like, what excuse does he have? But it's like, yeah, his whole family's dead. That's a pretty good excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His whole like Ronin thing, like, I feel like that's a reference to comics.
It is.
And it just kind of played as just like he's gone off the rails, but it didn't really impact anything. It kind of played into he felt like he wasn't worth living anymore because he's done things now. But like,
It was a little out of place, but
yeah, I don't know.
I thought it was
his
cool.
haircut was cool.
Yeah.
I did like that his personality, again, instead of being like super mopey and depressed that his family died, he adopts this really like just kind of snarky attitude, like he doesn't care anymore about anything.
edgy.
Edgy. That's what I'm talking about.
So many edgy characters.
Bring him on.
But yeah, like he's all right. Like I don't think he did it was a strong point, but I also don't think he was like a weak point. Like, there's a lot of things in this movie that could have been more developed, but I wouldn't argue they should have been, because again, 3-hour movie, big finale for some of these characters. Hawkeye's got a TV show, maybe. I don't know. He'll probably be back though, maybe. And if not, honestly, he retired with his family. That's a good enough reason for me.
He already did that.
He did it again.
Well, he sat out Infinity War. And speaking of sitting out Infinity War, actually, if Doctor Strange was like the newcomer that really had like a prominent time in Infinity War, then Ant-Man was I don't know if you can call him a newcomer. He's technically phase 2, but more recent, not phase 1 guy, that he had the biggest role of like the non-main 6.
No, the rat did.
Oh, all the jokes about that. The rat is it's gonna be such a meme of like, Doctor Strange watched 14 million realities where that rat just like didn't step on the right button.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Ant-Man was great. Oh man, it was really like that scene of him looking up on the memorial of like, did his daughter die?
And then it's his name. That's some like Twilight Zone type stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Paul Rudd is
That
so
was
compelling
pretty good.
and charismatic.
Yeah. He did a really good job. There's a lot of funny stuff with him turning into a baby and all that, but he's got good lines about Captain America's butt.
Yeah.
And I like that his character, it could have easily kind of fallen in with like the Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, like, you know, I'm a smart aleck and haha, I'm quippy, but like I like that his interaction is basically being a fanboy of the other characters, because they pull that from Civil War, and it's just really great. And yeah, he does bring a very warm like presence in the film.
Yeah, also having to go back to New York.
Yeah, they bring him, which is interesting. And one of the most interesting things about Ant-Man's prominence in the film is that whole scene where they're going back in time, that does play out like a heist. That plays out like an Ant-Man film.
Yeah.
Which is cool that they were able to bring like the whole movie isn't necessarily that, but like when Ant-Man was kind of prominent and the Pym particles and all that were because of him, they really intertwined that.
Yeah.
This was the first time I liked Ant-Man as a character.
Oh, that's right, you're a jerk.
I haven't seen either of the two Ant-Man movies.
Both
Oh.
both Ant-Man movies are my two least favorite movies in the MCU.
Ant-Man and the Wasp ain't great, but the first Ant-Man's amazing. How dare you?
I don't like either of them. I'm sorry. Thomas the Tank Engine cannot save that first movie. I'm sorry. I don't like Ant-Man. But this movie made me at least like him a little bit.
Yeah.
And the 5 years later thing means that his daughter can play a more prominent role in Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Spider-Man.
Of course.
It also means that Kuro's comic is canon.
Hey.
Yeah, 5 years later. Well, hang on. I think we're all forgetting the true hero of Avengers Endgame, New Jersey. Without New Jersey, you wouldn't you wouldn't have the Tesseract. Any other characters?
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean,
He was
in
cool.
it for like 12 seconds, that was good acting on that finger.
Yeah, that finger, man.
Oh,
Oh my god. When I rewatched that,
Oof.
so
The
sad.
sincerity in his face, like he.
Yeah. And then the cut to Tony, and you see in his face, he accepts that his mortality is up, you
Yep.
know?
I can't wait for Doctor Strange 2 because Infinity War and Endgame, I mean, more so Infinity War, really sold me on Doctor Strange's character, and I'm really interested to see what he does going forward.
I love Wong, too. Wong's great.
Ragnarok sold me on I like Doctor Strange's film. It's got really great visuals, but Strange himself feels like a Tony Stark ripoff at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Like he's
Are you saying that because he has a goatee?
No, I'm saying that because he's really good at everything, and he's snarky, and he's a jerk, and he's self-centered, and then he goes under a character journey where he's not that. But the movie is good. It saves it in cool effects and other stuff. But Doctor Strange in Ragnarok and then in Infinity War, it's just like that's a 1-2 punch of like this Doctor Strange is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorcerer, he puts the Supreme in Sorcerer Supreme. And also the Ancient One was a cool. Did not expect to see that character again, but it makes sense, right? Some people were like, it doesn't make sense because she's supposed to guard the Sanctum in Beijing or whatever. It's like all the Sanctums are connected. Like,
yeah,
you remember
like,
that,
she
right?
Can,
Yeah.
She can
That's
literally
explained.
just travel between them.
Like, you think aliens attacking New York City might be a good reason for her to maybe come on over to New York City. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a plot hole. Why do people think these things are plot holes?
Uh,
A really cool continuity nod there is that she mentions in Doctor Strange that she looks into the future and she can see everything except past her own death. So she can't see that Doctor Strange was supposed to sacrifice. She knows that he's the one. He's like the guy. He's the best of us. But she can't see the events of Infinity War. So she trusts Strange's decision-making skills before even meeting him, which is like that's really cool.
yeah. That was a very interesting moment for the character.
What about Black Widow?
I think they did Black Widow dirty, to be honest.
Hawkeye should have gone.
I honestly wish Hawkeye would have gone. I mean,
I think that would have been more tragic. Yeah.
because his family would come back and he'd be gone. I mean, how do you think that would be handled?
Right.
There's also the fact that Black Widow was the glue. Following the snap, she held everyone together. And
Of great detail is that she hadn't been redying her hair.
yeah. Yeah, she held the team together. I don't know. Black Widow has always been that character in the MCU. I mean, that feels like she always gets the short end of the stick.
She's the sidekick, which is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
because that's the role she plays in Iron Man 2. That's the role she plays in Winter Soldier. The role she plays
in the Avengers, it's just like she's like the female, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really wish that she wouldn't have died.
Right, and she does like she's great in Winter Soldier. Honestly, she's pretty good in Iron Man 2, even though she's undercover most of the time, so we don't really get much of her personality.
Right.
She's really great in Civil War. Like she plays both sides. But she unfortunately doesn't get much of an arc. They kind of tried to give her one in Age of Ultron. People were not receptive to her love interest in Hulk. People were put off that they insinuated that because she couldn't have children, she was a monster, which is not what that scene is. She's more referring to the fact that she's a murderer and has been programmed since a young age to just be a killing machine. But no, it's about the organs. But anyway, they tried to kind of do that, but people weren't receptive, so it's just like they never really found footing for what her character is, other than like she's an ex-assassin. But we don't even really get to see her doing an assassin stuff. I allegedly they have a Black Widow movie in the works, which is also why like I was kind of upset when the Russos came out and explained some things, because in my thoughts is like, okay, he said Red Skull says soul for a soul. So that means when you put the soul stone back, you should get a soul back, right? Like that's how that works. And I was okay with it being like ambiguous. Like, is that how it works? Is she gonna come back in some way? They're kind of already teasing that maybe Gamora isn't as gone as she seems to be. Like, why not leave that open? But then the Russos were like, oh no, well, it doesn't work that way. Maybe they're trolling, maybe they're misdirecting. I don't know. But you know, I do hope we get more from her, but I honestly do think that if we do, it does have to be that movie. She needs to have a focus. Yeah. She needs development, and that's basically everyone, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of cameos at the end.
Yeah, so we don't need to go through all those. I think the only other thing I'd really want to mention is I'm so glad Pepper was finally in the suit. I'm so glad to see that.
Oh, there's a character that's really important to this that we didn't talk about. Nebula.
Yeah,
she is.
Which one?
She's great in this movie.
I think this is her best. Yeah,
she kills it, and she's basically the only Guardian. I mean, Rocket's there, but Rocket doesn't have a super important role. But yeah, Nebula really like. There's some doubts as to like what's her real allegiance, and like she has to shoot herself. Like, man.
Yeah, this movie did a lot for her character. And like we had mentioned from that very beginning moment where she's with Tony in the ship and you know they're playing that paper football game. Like, oh man, that was just great. You know, she got a real taste of kindness, and then she's working with the rest of the Avengers to bring everyone back. And like then we get the twist where Thanos is able to hack into the other Nebula. So both are interconnected, and then we have the double thing going on, and it's, oh man, there was so much good going for this character, and I was really appreciative of that. We can talk about Thanos as well.
Yeah.
He's like kind of one-note evil villain in this movie.
Yeah. This is not his movie like Infinity War was.
Right. But I don't mind that at all, because this is a Thanos from a few years ago. First of all, this literally isn't the same Thanos we know.
This is 2014 Thanos.
And B, we've already got all of the depth and all of the intrigue. Like, we've already got it. Like, we don't need another movie of him really going on and on and on.
We know his character.
Right, and there is also hints that, like, his whole spiel about, like, oh, yeah, if I put half the life in the universe, everything will be better. It might just be a justification, and this movie kind of shows that it kind of is. The fact that he's willing to, like, I'm just going to destroy everything and rebuild it from the ground up, he really is, at the end of the day, just a maniacal warlord. They gave him an interesting way of being a maniacal warlord, but that part of him never changed.
The thing I love about Thanos is that, in comparison to a lot of other villains in which I feel that they can be predictable at times, with Thanos, it's just one thing after another, and you never know what the outcome is going to be, and it's just, like, he's the only villain, really, that I felt is just so powerful, and just, you don't know if it's either going to end in complete tragedy, or if they're going to pull out somehow.
Mm-hmm.
You're just saying that because he's your daddy.
Maybe I am.
Go monsters. But yeah, no, and also, also, I don't know if this is the official explanation, but the way I understood it is that when Tony snapped, he sent Thanos and his crew back to 2014 with, like, their memories wiped. He basically just fixed the timeline. He definitely 100% didn't prevent Infinity War from happening. That would mess up so many things. That would literally prevent that moment from happening, so he literally couldn't do it. If he does actually kill Thanos, that creates a separate timeline. I like to think that he's basically just putting everything right back where it's supposed to be.
He took them and moved them somewhere else.
Yeah, there you go.
I think the dusting was just for, poetic effect. I don't think he necessarily just killed because that really would mess with the time stream.
Because Thanos is the last one that gets dusted. He looks around the entire surroundings, and this entire giant alien army is just getting decimated, and then he's just the last one, and he just fades away.
Oh, and I love that moment because you know why I love that moment?
Why?
I want you guys to guess. No, I love that moment because Thanos doesn't say anything. He does not give us, but it was my...
It's just reactions.
It was my greatest plan. Or like, but
No!
I was inevitable. Like, he doesn't give a cheesy one-liner. I think any line there would have been a cheesy one-liner or a pseudo-intellectual... Like, really, you just see... He accepts it. He's basically just saying, I have failed, but with his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am inevitable. Oh, that line is good. That one's good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, Captain Marvel. She's not in this movie.
She comes into this movie when she needs to be in this movie.
Yeah, that's basically it. I'm not sold on the character yet still. This is the second time she's shown up this year, and I'm still not sold on her character.
Stop being sexist.
I'll have you know that Scarlet Witch is one of my
pig.
favorite. No, I love plenty of the female characters. It's just Captain Marvel.
Scarlet Witch was awesome.
Yeah, I love Scarlet Witch.
Even though she was barely in
I don't know who you are. You will.
Yeah, like when she came back, she was full of fury and ready to go. Oh man.
But no, seriously, Captain Marvel. Yeah, I her inclusion was very weird. What was the thing that she recorded? She filmed this basically before she filmed Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So like her character doesn't feel 100% consistent with Captain Marvel. The little of it that we see, she's a little, I don't know, she's a little like cocky, and I don't think she's that in Captain Marvel so much. But
maybe that's an acquired trait.
I don't know. But either way, I mean, it is very strange that like they pull her in, they place a great importance on her, like, oh, the beeper at the end of Infinity War, and then basically she rescues Tony, which obviously is a huge deal, but after that, she doesn't even time travel with them, and it's like, I gotta go.
Oh, there's some earthquakes on some other planets. All right, guys, I gotta go. Bye.
She's like, I gotta go. Other planets need me, and it's like, Captain Marvel, we're trying to like save literally everyone. Gotta go. Other planets need me. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just because they had to film her movie and it was going on at the same time. I'm not sure.
I don't think it would have felt right if she time traveled, because it really, like, I don't think it would have. Well, actually, it might have detracted from the fact that at least most of the people time traveling back were kind of like OG Phase 1 Avengers, and it felt very homey that they were traveling back to those original movies.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much everyone who time traveled was going back to. Well,
Rocket and Ant-Man.
Rocket and Ant-Man. Yeah, I guess they're the exceptions, but
and Nebula. I don't think War Machine was with Star-Lord.
Very true.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Very true.
But I think honestly with Captain Marvel, I think they really just wanted to tie every possible character they could to this film, right? They wanted to, because it's going to be the characters introduced after Endgame, right? That's how we're going to lump them. It's going to, like how we lump the pre-Avengers 1 and post-Avengers 1, we're going to lump them as, these are the characters that were in Endgame and before, and then here's, Mr. Fantastic, Wolverine, and, the Schmeckledorf burglar. So I think they just wanted to cram her in, honestly, because it just really didn't feel natural. But she's also in it so little that it's like, I can't really complain too much about it. There was something not quite seamless about it. And maybe it is just because she hasn't had a lot of time to like endear herself into our hearts, right? Because
she's the new girl in town.
Well, she's the only, not only was her movie like a month before Endgame, but she's the only character. Yeah, she's the only hero, the only character in that film who had not been in more than one film.
Yeah.
Even Thanos had cameos before Infinity War. Every other character had been in more than one film, except her and the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
And I guess Tony Stark's daughter, whatever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Real quick, War Machine also was, he didn't like do a ton, but he had some really great like deadpan lines with Nebula and
Right.
just like the ridiculousness of the situation that they were in.
He just wasn't dealing with that space stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But he's a cyborg just like Nebula. Anything else about Endgame, guys?
Great movie. Lots of fan service, but I had a great time, and that's all that matters.
I'm just waiting for it to pass Avatar.
Same here.
I mean, I think this is a wonderful, wonderful movie, and I think Endgame is the ultimate example of basically being the best rehash.
It had a very difficult task. Like, cleaning up these movies and ending them in a good way that makes everyone happy with a good send-off is not an easy thing to do. It's very difficult. And they pulled it off.
It ultimately is very recursive and based on things that happened in previous movies. They literally go back to previous movies. Some of it kind of feels like Infinity War. Like, it is a movie that I think is perfect to talk about on this podcast, but I think they hit every note, right? There's fan service, but everything does also fold into the story. The fan service doesn't overtake the story, and the story doesn't overtake the fan service. They do just hit a lot of the right nails, and there are things to pick apart in this film. Undoubtedly. Right?
Yes.
And this isn't like to say let's not think about them or whatever, because everything is worth discussing. But I think that it's important to look at the big picture and look at what this movie did. And this movie did so many things.
It was 1 in 14 million.
It was very ambitious.
All right. So, are you guys ready to talk about 2 episodes of Avengers TV shows that are
Tonally very different, but about similar stuff.
Yes, very different.
Very different. Before that, Monsters, would you like to tell us what we're doing next week?
Sure. Next week, we're not doing anything next week.
Aw,
man.
Yeah, we're taking a week off, guys.
Yeah.
I know we said we're gonna be releasing on Wednesdays, but not this next one. Just this one, and then the one after that, and then all of them after that.
Yeah, but we got a lot of really cool stuff planned, so be on the lookout for that.
Live cast coming soon. Still
coming soon. Yeah.
All right. We watched an episode of the Marvel Superhero Squad show known as Fate of Destiny.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
The plot of this is that Thanos has acquired all 6 Infinity Stones and uses them to create a do-over where he defeats the superhero squad. And then, surprise plot twist, the Silver Surfer comes out of nowhere and steals the gauntlet, and then he's the evil Silver Surfer.
I really don't like Thanos in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't care for
Like,
him
not because
either.
he's a good villain, but just because his character is annoying.
Yeah, he's very annoying. His catchphrase is do-over anytime he wants to change reality.
Do-over.
And he says it in a really obnoxious voice. Also, he's the voice of Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. And that's all we'll say about the voice actor. But I only mention it just because I could not unhear Tigger.
I couldn't unhear it
Oh,
either.
yeah. Yeah, now that you mention
like
it.
the entire episode,
Yep.
that's all I heard was like, oh.
I told you that,
That's him.
Shadow. I told you ahead of time. I was like,
Yeah.
you're going to hear Tigger, and you're not going to stop it. And the wonderful thing about Infinity Stones is that I have all of them. Yeah. Tom Kenny is Iron Man.
That was all. See,
Yeah, that was
the entire superhero squad. It's like all those recognizable voice actors, like all together in one.
Bray Delisle is Scarlet Witch, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm not even hearing these heroes. I'm just hearing the actors playing these heroes.
Okay, so we got to talk a little bit about Superhero Squad and the kind of show it is before like anything else, because it came out before the MCU, right? I think it came out before the MCU took off. It came out
around the same. Yeah.
before Avengers. It was before Avengers.
Yeah.
And like it was literally made to sell toys. The Superhero Squad, and superhero is 2 words because DC owns the right to superhero, 1 word. Fun fact there. But yeah, they basically came out to sell these toys, and the show is aimed at a very young audience.
Yeah, that was very, very apparent.
yes, that colors everything about it. And I think it's important to look at it and judge it on those merits. But on the merits of it being something for like preschoolers, I still think this is a pretty lazy and like just nothing about this looks like any effort was put into it.
Yeah.
And also the disclaimer that both these episodes are parts of larger storylines. So, there is some context we might be missing.
This one especially has a big to be continued at the end.
Well, the other one does too.
All right.
But yeah, no, like the voice actors, it's not that like I love Tom Kenny, but like it doesn't sound like any of them were really given anything to work with. And also we have the MCU versions kind of stuck in our head, which is a little unfair, but like none of these characters have personality except for I guess
it's very goofy.
Yeah. The first like 5 minutes of it is just Thanos monologuing to a mouthless Nebula. Which is after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, it's very bizarre for him to be like, "You're my sister, and also I'm taking away your mouth."
Yeah,
like considering Thanos disassembles her in Infinity War, it's just like, ooh. But yeah, so much of this is Thanos, and Thanos is so uninteresting. Also, what does Hulk call him? Charlie Heston with a head cold?
Yeah, I don't think kids are going to get that reference.
Dude, I don't get that reference. Who?
It completely flew over my head.
Oh, the animation is really bad, too.
Yeah, there's like a walk cycle I think that Nebula does, and it's really bad. It's really bad.
Oh, God, like at the end, the characters are like spinning in these vortexes, and they're not animated. They're just rotated. Like
keyframe.
Yeah, there's also moments where I thought my video player was bugging out, but it just turns out that they leave these freeze frames on for like longer than they should. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
It looked like there was something wrong, but no, that's just how they made it. Lots of still frames.
I mean, it's not atypical of a show that was made to sell toys.
Yeah. I mean, on the writing side of things, which is like the one thing that really couldn't or shouldn't be affected by budget. Like you could claim the animation and the voice acting and all that other crap, but like the writing is so annoying. Like the one I think the only like humor that I got out of this was the weird unintentionally stilted things like Thor saying like the son of Odin, that's me, will defeat you. Like the stupid little smile that he gives, and I don't think that's supposed to be I don't know if that's supposed to be funny or not, but it made me laugh just because of like, God, this is so dumb. And like,
yeah,
and they can't fight because it's a little show for very young people, which is like, I understand why they don't want to show the violence, but like, why make a superhero show then? What's the point? Like, Shadow, could you tell me any reason why they'd make a superhero show where the heroes hardly do any fighting? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's called not caring about the brand and just wanting to make easy money without having to try.
Saving animation costs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that too. Like, the heroes don't even fight Thanos. They show up, and Thanos is like, do-over, hey, you're a pretzel now. And they're
at least they don't have to go to school. Count your blessings.
Or maybe they
Count your blessings.
Are you sure, Shadow? You don't know. They might know their episodes.
Well, you know what? I don't want to find out. I'm just going to pretend that they don't and go with that.
Their headquarters almost kind of reminded me of Titan's Tower a little bit. Like, in the worst way possible.
Okay. Can we all at least admit that Teen Titans Go is, like, at least 800 times better than this show?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
like, okay.
Similar art style.
Yeah, but this one's worse. The bright colors are awful. The worst thing about this to me, and the thing that really, like, I think is inexcusable is, why is this a 22-minute show? Like, first of all, kids, if you're aiming for young, like, why don't you go for a shorter runtime? You're more likely to keep their attention span. But also, like, these stories, and I mean, we've only seen the one episode, but, like, this story and the dialogue and everything, it's so padded. This could have been 11 minutes. I felt like it should have been so badly.
Yeah. It felt like it dragged out forever.
This type of show works better as 11 minutes.
Yeah, like, I feel like you could cut this down to 11 minutes and it wouldn't be, like, great, but it wouldn't be obnoxious. That's the thing. This episode is obnoxious.
Yeah.
And I say that again, knowing full well it is a show for young people. I still think that judging it on that basis, this is not very good.
No, not at all.
Ugh.
The only thing that really caught me off guard was there's this one joke about Wolverine thinking Iron Man, what was his foot or whatever was in an area it shouldn't have been, and Iron Man's like, that was yours, but and it's like, this feels so out of place compared to everything else I just watched. Like, what is this doing here?
Yeah. There's also a joke that really stuck out was the cartoon. It's like the cartoon villain dialogue banter award that Thanos literally pulls out of his booty.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like under a different context, I mean, I kind of found it a little funny, but only because of just like how, just like what is even happening in the episode at that point. It's like that's the thing, is that like there's so much like side banter and side like really dumb jokes that at a certain point it's like, what is happening?
Get to the point.
Yeah, like I'm like, is this meant to be a story moment or a comedy moment or nothing? Like what? Why is Thanos rambling at the beginning of the episode? Like, what is this? I don't.
Yeah, we also have an odd appearance by Doom.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he was the big bad in the series before Thanos, maybe? That might be what they're... What is up with his accent, though? His, like... He sounds like the stupid... The Buggy from like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Oh my gosh,
no respect.
Yes.
It's kind of funny that, like, the only characters... I mean, aside from the villains, Wolverine and Silver Surfer are the only ones not in the MCU. Like Scarlet Witch and Hulk. I mean, obviously Hulk's there. I don't know why Captain America's not there. I guess it was school day for him. He had to go learn how to square dance with Peggy. But no, I firmly believe this is not the way you write a preschool show. I like okay, Blue's Clues, Sesame Street. I can watch those. Like, I'm not saying I get anything out of those. I'm not saying I actually watch those. But if we were like, all right, we're doing a recast on Blue's Clues, I'd be like, okay, I could sit through that because Blue's Clues wasn't obnoxious.
Well, they also, another thing too is that they don't have continuity, except for very small things like when Steve leaves his reigns as the host.
Right.
But beyond that, no, it's like each episode is its own thing. Whereas, like, I don't know if preschoolers have the attention span to keep tuning into this stuff.
For the tone that it's going for, why does this show have multi-part episodes? It's not even just that it's 22 minutes. This is the end of, not even the end, sorry. There's like a 6-parter after this that didn't even air because the network didn't want it and it only showed up on iTunes or something. I read about this. I don't know.
Also, didn't this show air on Cartoon Network?
I
hope not.
I'm pretty sure it aired on Cartoon Network, which is odd in retrospect because now it's a Disney property.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I firmly believe that it's just complete garbage. I really wanted to like it. Like, I kept saying about how, like, I want there to be a Marvel show that I could really get into in the same way that the DC has a lot of really great animated shows. And this definitely ain't it.
Yeah.
Just don't be obnoxious. That's the golden rule. Why? I don't know. It frustrates me because it's the contradiction of let's make a 22-minute episode that's a part of the storyline, but let's also like dumb it down to like the lowest possible degree. Those two ideas don't connect, and it just, if this was 11 minutes of annoying, that'd be one thing, but 22 minutes is just, it's nope. Do over. Please do this episode over. Okay. You guys ready to move on to Thanos Triumphant?
Sure.
Okay, so a few years later, there was this series called Avengers Assemble, and this one is meant to be that one was meant to be a tie-in to the toy line. This one is meant to be a tie-in to the MCU, a very loose one, but still a tie-in, clearly.
Right.
And it is definitely that. I mean, all the characters are on the lineup. I don't know if Falcon was even introduced in the MCU when this came out. I have no idea, but he's there. He's weird 70s Falcon. Yeah. But yeah, the story of this one is that Thanos has collected all 5 Infinity Stones. Take that, Soul Stone. I guess that time it didn't cost as much.
Yeah, sacrifices couldn't be on kids' TV.
Yeah. Well, because the only thing the Soul Stone did in the other episode was it was just talk to him. It was just a personality.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway, he's collected all 5 Infinity Stones. He's sitting on his Thanos rock, and he's gonna destroy the Earth. So the Avengers come and have a last battle with him. But then, surprise plot twist, Ultron comes and steals the Infinity Gauntlet.
Dun dun dun.
Why does that happen in both of these episodes? What is going on? Is that was the original? I haven't read it, but in the original like Infinity Gauntlet storyline in the comics, does that happen? Does someone show up and steal the glove at the end? Like, why does another villain?
It's a repeat of the hot potato.
I mean, is it just that Thanos is that uninteresting of a villain that they really wanted to hand off these power to much more interesting villains? Is that the thing? Anyway, I really like Thanos Triumphant.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a decent episode. I liked it. I mean, I liked it way more than the other one. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, spoilers! Shush, Shadow. Keep that a secret. That's at the end.
It kind of felt like a Justice League type. Like I don't think I would say it's as good as the DC animated universe stuff, but it gave me that same type of feeling, and it had that same type of art style and tone.
Right. The thing that I like and appreciate about this episode is that the Avengers are a team, and this episode makes it so that each vendor each vendor sells their hot dogs separately. No, each Avenger has a role to play. I like the conceit of this episode. The other episode was literally just like, Thanos is all powerful, guess we better go stop him. But in this one, Tony has a plan, and we're not privy to the plan at the beginning. But the plan is that they have to make Thanos use only one Infinity Stone at a time, but they have to make him use each and every one of them. And another thing I like is that the Infinity Gauntlet in this show, it basically just shoots a beam that reflects whatever it is, which sounds, it is kind of like hokey, but at least it like nerfs it to the point where he can't just like time travel.
Yeah.
Like him being able to turn up and down the age on people, that makes it a lot more of like a reasonable power that the Avengers can fight against versus he can just time travel. Anyway, so with the Time Stone, he turns the Avengers to dust, which is just like amazing. But Thor, it says that Asgardians get more powerful as they get older, so he's able to defeat the Time Stone. Pretty bold that Thanos like reversing it just like turns everyone back instead of just leaving them as dust piles. That was a pretty bold assumption, but it works. The Mind Stone Thanos uses to turn the Avengers against each other, kind of like Loki's scepter in which is and Hulk is able to beat that because Hulk is always like agitated, and as he says, he doesn't fight against the anger, he aims it. The Space Stone, Black Widow is able to time out when Thanos appears, and Hawkeye is able to hit him before he disappears again. The Reality Stone, Cap is the only one grounded enough to realize that it's a trap.
That part was cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Did it get you guys? Were you fooled? I wasn't fooled.
No, I wasn't. Because I looked at the slider, and it's like, this episode is like nowhere near close to being done.
Well, that's just cheating.
No, I was like, he hasn't used the Reality Stone yet. This is totally it. Like that's why I was like, no, I'm not falling for this. But
it was still cool. That's the thing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. I like the Red Skull cameo.
The Power Stone, Falcon is too fast for Thanos to hit him with it, and it gets easily distracted. And then Iron Man has the plan that defeats Thanos in the end. And I loved that twist. Did you guys see that coming?
No, I actually did not.
I don't remember the twist.
What? Did you watch these episodes?
You don't remember the twist?
Yes.
Well, I'll give you a hint. It's.
I remember they end up back on Earth in like New York City.
I'll give you a hint. It happens in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh right, yeah, he's not there in a suit. He's in Stark Tower.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. I loved that. I felt like that was like such a level of like good storytelling of. Earlier in the episode, we see the suit. There's also a line that kind of gives it away that Black Widow says he's playing with our lives like he always does. Mention because Tony Stark's his life is not at risk. He's not there with them. So if his plan is stupid, they're the ones that are gonna die immediately. But yeah, I love that twist, and it's pretty cool. And I just like the conceit of like they got to defeat each Infinity Stone. I mean, like, I love what they do with the Infinity Stones in Infinity War. Like, I love that Thanos uses multiples of them at the same time. But in this episode, you really get a sense more than any other Infinity-related media I've seen of just like the scope of each stone's power one at a time instead of like, all of them at once.
Exactly.
There's also, what did you guys think of the comedy in this episode?
It was decent.
It was okay, I guess.
Not very memorable in my opinion.
Really?
I don't remember any jokes off the top of my head.
Well, I don't think you watched it, Monsters, but
I watched it.
No, I think Cap or someone says that Thanos has the weakness of ego, and everyone with an ego is a tyrant or whatever, and
yeah.
And Hawkeye's like, oh, I guess that makes Stark a tyrant too. Like,
oh yeah,
that's a pretty good one. But yeah, I mean that's the main one that I remembered. Hawkeye is the funny character. That's what his role is. He kind of looks like Richie from Static Shock. Just pointing that out. And yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was hilarious. I didn't really roll my eyes at any joke though. I don't really remember them.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, I feel like the episode is a little dry because of the lack of humor, and also because, for as cool as the gauntlet is, Thanos is really boring.
Yeah. He's just egotistic and power hungry, but there's no more substance to his character beyond that.
To be fair, it is possible that they developed him in earlier episodes, but just judging from this episode alone, it is really just like, mwahaha. Like, he literally laughs to himself. Like, he's that level of like, I'm a maniacal guy. I'm just going to destroy the Earth because I can. Like,
that must be a thing in the comics, just Thanos being very ego-heavy.
Well, in the comics, he's trying to court death, like, but you can't really do that in the kid show.
Right.
So, I don't know. But yeah, I do feel like he probably wasn't the most developed character in the comics. And that's why Infinity War gave him his whole ideology and his sacrifice with Gamora and all that stuff to make him a more rounded character. I mean, I guess I'd prefer, like, generic villain Thanos to, like, really obnoxious Thanos.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
But a really obnoxious Thanos does at least have a personality, so I can say that.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was, like, a particularly bad example. Like, he wasn't, like, mustache twirling. He was more bland than anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel like giving him more of a personality might have really kind of been the final key to this episode. Because although I do like what this episode is going for, like I said, I think it is a little on the dry side.
The action was pretty solid.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated a lot of the fight scenes.
Lots of different set pieces, and there was the Titans too, like those suits.
Yeah. I mean, I think the action scenes were pretty good, but I kind of think that a lot of the other stuff was a little stiff.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, when they're talking, they don't really move very much, and like...
Yeah. There was some, like, freeze frame type stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, although the fights are, like, pretty solid, like, I wouldn't say there was anything mind-blowing. Oh, and God, the helicarrier, like, the background of New York City, it looks like they took, like, a crude drawing of New York from, like, a map, and then, like, blurred it out, and they're like, that's what it looks like when you're hovering above the city, and it just looks so bad. Did you guys see that?
If I remember correctly, they do a little bit of CGI blending, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't look good. I mean, this is like 2014, something like that. It just doesn't look good. It's unfortunate because I feel like if they gave this show like a little bit better of a budget and they maybe tied it to the MCU a little closer, I mean, people would go nuts for it. Like,
yeah, I haven't seen anything of that Guardians of the Galaxy show, but I heard it was pretty good.
Oh, okay. Oh, on that note, the Guardians show up out of nowhere in the end of this episode, and God, Rocket sounds awful. Doesn't he? He sounds like this. He's like, ugh.
That's probably what a raccoon would sound like.
I honestly didn't know what they were doing there.
The Guardians show crosses over with this show. So and
okay.
Thanos is a recurring character on that show. I looked it up. That's the only reason I know it. And that's not anything against the episode or against you. It's just that's just a fact. Because otherwise, it looks like they just show up and they're like,
yeah,
what are you, Thanos' babysitter? Like,
I was like, why is Star-Lord here for no reason? Really? Like, he's just
the
like,
MCU.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, that's all I've really got.
But it is like really uncanny how similar these episodes are to each other. But I guess it's not that surprising when you consider like they were both adapted from the same comic material.
Right.
So, there's got to be some connective tissue there that leads to this. Like, and same thing with Infinity War and Endgame. Like, they all come from the same source, and that's why it's all interesting to talk about on the recast.
Adaptations, they're important.
On our poll, surprisingly, I would have never guessed this, but it was very close. There was 174 votes, and I feel like maybe not everyone have seen both these episodes because, again, they're not widely available, but Fate of Destiny comes in at 44%, and Thanos Triumphant does win, but only at 56%. That's surprising to me. Monsters, is there any comments that explain why people might like Superhero Squad?
No. I have 2 comments. So the first one is from Spongy444, and they say, I'd agree Thanos Triumphant is the better one. Fate of Destiny is okay, I guess, but it feels like not much really happens, with a fair bit of padding. I only laughed a couple times, and while I think the ending would have made more sense if I watched the show, for now it just felt like random. The other one kinda does that too, oddly enough. Thanos Triumphant was decent enough for what it is, as this Thanos was decently threatening and the action was okay with some banter. Nothing great, and the CGI is pretty, but overall it was fine and was the better episode to me.
It's a good take.
Good take, yeah. And then we have another comment from ToonJ723, and they say, a large chunk of the Superhero Squad episode is very boring until 16 minutes in, where the Silver Surfer takes the Infinity Gauntlet, or should I say the Infinity Rubber Glove, from Thanos. The Dark Surfer is a much more exciting villain, and he actually did stuff. All Thanos does is just talks and walks, and talks some more. In fact, until the Surfer gets the Infinity Gauntlet, the entire episode was just walking and talking. No action at all. Sure. I'm glad the episode picked up the pace when Dark Surfer showed up. But because they waited 16 minutes to get to the good stuff ends rather quickly. I checked to see if this was a 2-parter episode, but according to Wikipedia, this episode is led up to a 7-episode story arc, so that's a bummer. This is the only episode of the show I've seen, and judging by this episode, Thanos appears to be the worst thing about this show. None of his banter or interactions with other characters is interesting in the slightest, aside from Wolverine calling him a cosmic pretzel vendor.
I knew there were the Avengers.
Cool stuff.
All right. So Shadow, which episode did you like better?
Thanos Triumphant.
I could tell Shadow's getting a little sleepy. Okay, Monsters. You?
It's definitely Thanos Triumphant. Even though there was no snap in the episode.
I think Avengers Endgame was the best one. I don't know what you guys were talking about. Thanos
Stop.
Thanos Triumphant was better than Fate of Destiny, but I think Endgame might be a little better than Thanos Triumphant.
I'll concede that.
Let me ask you guys this: does Thanos Triumphant make you curious as to that show, Avengers Assemble?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there was one part was mentioned about something about Black Widow working for Thanos or helping him get the stones or something.
She was tricked, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, like that had me interested. I was like, oh, I wonder how that happened. So, yeah, a little bit. I think there's some things that I'd be interested in checking out.
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately there's no easy way to watch this show, but I feel like after Disney Plus comes out, that'll remedy that maybe. Or maybe they want to bury this because they don't want to cause confusion with the MCU. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, no. I mean, it definitely made me curious. I do agree. I don't think it's quite on the level of the DC animated universe, but I think it's like within the ballpark, and I feel like maybe other episodes could kind of cross into that. And I like these characters. I'm endeared to these characters now thanks to the movies. So.
Right, and with the exception of Young Justice on the DC streaming service and the direct-to-DVD stuff that they're doing, DC clearly isn't a big player in that realm anymore in terms of airing that stuff on TV. They have Justice League Action, but it doesn't have a very big presence in its 11 minutes. So I'm at least glad that Disney is still making this type of stuff.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that What If show that they're doing, the animated one, that's gonna do well, because I feel like that could be a good launching point.
Hope so.
And one more thing. Yeah, what did like? Oh God, the Silver Surfer had an obnoxious surfer voice in Superhero
Whoa!
Oh God, and yeah, he was awful too, because like he goes into, I guess the Infinity Gauntlet in the Superhero Squad show is just a monologue gauntlet, because he just goes into this long spiel about like, whoa, dude, I have a lot of power now, and this power feels good, and then he just like keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was particularly bad. And then Ultron, what'd you guys think of Ultron?
Very brief, but
Yeah, kind of sounds like Ultron from Age of Ultron a little bit.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, okay, he's here now. Cool.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious what they do with that storyline, because it's like, well, Thanos just used the Infinity Gauntlet, so it's like, it's the same thing but with a robot, like with a more compelling character, maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, no, I thought that was interesting on both parts. I'll at least give Superhero Squad the credit that at least that was an interesting twist in the episode.
yeah.
That he didn't just come in and just like defeat Thanos and everyone hugged.
What? Ultron? Where'd you come from?
We like to handle our problems one at a time. You'll get them later, Tony. Yeah. All right. Thanos trivia. How much do you know your daddy, monsters?
Not enough. I have daddy issues.
Daddy, why did you eat my fries?
My dad, the rock star, Thanos.
Oh god, I'm a freak
Oh,
because my
man.
dad is a Titan. Yeah. Okay.
Somebody make that a thing.
You just wedged loose some memories of Nicktoons Network. Anyway. Okay. This is a true false trivia question. Shadow, you're good at trivia, so you're gonna go first. Monsters
Oh boy.
is not the best, so he gets to go second.
Cool.
All right, so these were all taken from the Thanos Wikipedia page. True or false? Thanos' first appearance was in The Invincible Iron Man number 55.
I barely know the comics. I'm gonna go with true, cause sure.
I don't know the comics. I'm gonna say false.
Monsters is wrong. Shadow is right. The Invincible Iron Man number 55, which is like wonderfully perfect for that he's an Iron Man villain at first. Cause he, Iron Man, MCU. All right, question number 2. Shadow's up by 1. Monsters is got a big goose egg. Thanos' parents are named Quasar and Frendelwar.
False.
I'll say true.
Shadow is again correct. I made
Oh.
those names up.
When I thought Quasar, I thought Johnny Quasar. And I was like, that'd be cool.
Oh my gosh.
I was trying to come up with names that were ridiculous, but then also like plausibly ridiculous. Originally,
Right.
it was gonna be like Quasar and Steve. His parents' names are Alars, A''Lars, and either Suisan or Susan.
I'm sorry, wait. Lars?
Oh my gosh.
SUI-SAN.
That's where Lars went.
Suisan or Susan?
Lars isn't catching whales and releasing them. He's fathering Thanos.
I'm just ignoring you. So Shadow's got 2 for 2. Monsters got his usual score.
Yes.
Number 3. Thanos owns a helicopter known as the Thanos Copter.
True.
This is ridiculous, and there's a lot of comic ridiculousness, so I'm also going to say true.
Yeah, that one is true. That's a pretty...
I've seen meme
That's
images
well
of
known.
that.
I know
Yeah.
Thanos
Yeah.
truck, but I'm pretty sure that's just a
Yes, Thanos truck. Oh, that's good too.
People are referring to the fact that Thanos used a weapon in Endgame and he spun it around like a copter. Like, I don't know, man. A lot of Easter eggs. I'm not sure that was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4. Thanos once ate Rocket Raccoon.
He once ate Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
Not the first thing
go-
that ended up inside Thanos. No, I'm joking.
Oh no. Ant-Man. I'm gonna go with I'll go with false.
I'll go true.
Shadow is correct. That did
Aw.
not have. Well, here's what I wrote.
Yet.
Well, see, I said hopefully false because I couldn't like check through every comic in existence to know that. So I hope that's false. Otherwise, I should start writing comics in the ridiculous era. All right, last question. Shadow's got 4. Monsters, she got 1. I'm proud of you, bud.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanos tried to court the physical embodiment of death.
True.
I'll also say that's true.
I gave that away earlier. All right, Shadow is 5 for 5, and Monsters got 2.
I'm surprised I got all 5. I was expecting to get at least 1 or 2.
I'm happy with
Here's
my
the
score.
thing. At a certain point, these trivia games are basically just like friendship tests to see how well you know me creating questions.
Yeah.
Okay, then I must know you pretty well then.
That is true. Sorry, Monster.
Wow, I just realized how that sounded.
Shadow and I play a lot of Borderlands. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
I don't play games. I don't play games. I'm tough like Thanos, and I've got an ego.
You know, I bet you the reason Thanos lost is because he didn't play Fortnite.
That's exactly. He didn't build, dude. He didn't get enough V-Bucks.
He was in Fortnite, but we don't know if he was in the MCU's version of Fortnite.
PIEGUYRULZ out.
Catch you guys next time.
All right, bye.